This is 365 Sports.
Daniels keeps it, and he scores.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Underneath, Smith gets to the corner. Money on the rise. Touchdown, Jeremiah Smith.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Johnson buys some time. There's the tight end again, rumbling towards the end zone, and the touchdown for Anzio.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus with their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries. On your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Klubnik's going to take off. Klubnik with a touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And here we go on yet another day of college football season. And tonight, just around the corner and about a mile or two from us at McLean Stadium, it's Auburn, SEC Auburn Tigers against Baylor. That kickoff later on this evening will take you up until 6 o'clock with a lot to get to from what happened last night, too. It is Craig Smoak, it's Paul Catalina, David Smoak, Garrett Ross running the mothership solo today. And I every time I go anywhere or have something to do, vacation or a game, all hell breaks loose. Of course, yesterday, that Micah Parsons story, but we'll get to that a little bit later on, too. But, all right, tonight, Auburn and Baylor, and then we're going to get into last night's games with 4 Big 12 teams playing last night. Dave Aranda and the Bears, after an 8-5 season, hosting Auburn tonight.
I think it's a challenge. I think it's going to take the front people doing their part to help the people that are in the back. I think we're going to have to be able to get calls in. We have to have cleats in the ground. You know, I think if you're looking at it as a one-on-one or one versus one proposition, I can see where maybe from the Auburn side you're feeling confident about all of it. I think we have to look at it as hey, this is where my help is. This is where I'm playing to my help. This is my part in the thing. I'm going to do my part so that the overall team can execute. And so I think pass rush is a big part of that too. I think, it's going to come down to stopping the run and getting them into when we feel like they got to throw it. I think if they're running the ball and they can play action pass and 4x1 RPO kind of at will, then I think we're not kind of in control of anything, and then that's when those matchups become an issue. I think if we're able to get it to where it's a one-sided thing, at least partly, I think we can play some of that better.
That's Dave Aranda, Baylor tonight against Auburn. Craig and Paul, we've look forward to this game along with just the start of college football. And tonight we're just, 4 hours or so away from kickoff.
Yeah, very exciting to have this game talked about for so many months and to have been on the calendar this whole time as a game I know that Baylor fans were very much looking forward to when this would come to pass. And so here we are tonight. Got the Auburn team trucks, team, RVs outside, the buses right there next to where I park. So they're right next to us in that hotel, and they'll be making their way over to the stadium here shortly. And it's just a mile, almost exactly a mile away. So very short jaunt over there. And then here in a few hours, we'll get to see the real live action version of this Baylor-Auburn game that so many people have been talking about. Cool to drive past the stadium on the way over here and see the tailgaters out and to see everything kind of getting started around here, whereas last night we got a great taste of this season already, and then last weekend a little bit of an appetizer. So, yeah, I'm very excited. It's a huge game, I think, for both teams. That's become obvious in the discussion last week. And what Dave Aranda said there is what I was trying to say, maybe not as eloquently earlier in the week, where everybody's hung up on the wide receivers for Auburn. Yep. And my point was, they're Auburn. They're going to be able to run the football. Like, they're not just going to go out there and just start chunking it left and right. They're going to try to, hit you in the gut and soften you up and then really go to town with those wide receivers. So I think that's exactly the way he put it a little bit better. What I was trying to get at earlier this week, that's my concern is, Auburn's got the talent. And matter of fact, I was sitting in my car just for a couple of minutes, just looking through Twitter before I got out and walked up, and that propaganda honk of the SEC that I bring up from time to time. He was in full propaganda mode and talking about how basically the gist of it was anybody thinking this is going to be anything but a blowout's crazy. Now, I know he's the SEC propaganda honk, so you say things like that, but I picked Auburn to win this game as well. Not in that language, but I would gladly be wrong just to see him proven wrong. I would love to be wrong just for him to be really wrong. But regardless, there is going to be trash talking. Either the SEC just we're better than you after this game, we're better than you, or Baylor and to a lesser extent the Big 12 and other teams, we go, they're not the unbeatable. They're not this or that. And so I love that we can actually talk about that as opposed to these just, the last 10 years says that, and tonight is what matters, the win or loss tonight, and I love it.
I picked Baylor in this game mostly because I have very little respect for anything Hugh Freeze has done at Auburn so far. And I don't mean that bitingly, but they haven't shown me anything yet. Outside of a kind of a crazy win over A&M last year where Cam Coleman went full beast mode in the fourth quarter. Okay, that's great. I think Jackson Arnold will be a lot better than Peyton Thorne, but there's no proof of concept for Hugh Freeze yet. There's not. So this is a very tough road game. I think Baylor is really set up well this year to start. I think that part of their problem last year was they didn't know who to turn to when things got bad on the field. And then from that, Sawyer Robertson came into his own and showed what he can do when he's healthy, which I think a lot of people just don't know because he played through it so much or just wasn't the starter, how banged up he was for about a year and a half, trying to get back to who he was. And once he became that, he's been really, really good. Another year in Jake Spavital's offense. I like that the weapons that they have for him with Josh Cameron and Ashton Hawkins back and Michael Trigg and the others that they brought in.
Josh Cameron.
Yeah, I said Josh Cameron.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All those guys. I think they do well. So
one of the things, he did have the ankle issue towards the end of the year. He wasn't quite as mobile, but that will help. And there was a scare earlier back during fall camp that maybe he had tweaked that again. But he's a dual threat guy. Doesn't mean he runs a lot, but when he does, he can do some damage.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion ultimately came down to the talent level at Auburn. If I were splitting hairs here, I can understand if you go the way of home team, big, extravagant, elaborate, promotional, goings on from the uniforms to the crowd drone shows, every bell and whistle that could be thrown at this game by Baylor Promotions has been thrown at this game to hype it up even more. I think we've got two on paper, pretty evenly matched teams, but based on recruiting rankings and the like, then you would give Auburn an edge at talent, but I think to underestimate the veteran talent that Baylor has coming back, that Josh Cameron, a Sawyer Robertson, even the younger guys like a Bryson Washington or older guys like a Michael Trigg, I do think they have some weapons. They're not lacking in talent. This isn't just some vanilla bean team that's lining up and lucked their way to 8 wins last year. But in regards to the way they did finish, one of the, I guess, picking apart of the Baylor narrative that I've seen from people online is, oh, well, that 6-game win streak at the end of last year, like, look at who they were playing. Well, that last year was last year, first of all, but it was still a 6-game win streak. And I don't care who you were playing. That's a 6-game win streak that turned your season around completely after a really rough start. So they'll look to avoid that rough start tonight. We'll see if they can kind of keep that momentum from last year, even though it did end with a loss to LSU. But that was part of like what came into play was you looked at that LSU team early on that bowl game. There was a clear talent advantage. Like it was obvious. And so that was kind of what was in my head with picking this game as well. Not to say that Auburn is pound for pound as talented as LSU, but if we get into just a game where it comes down to the athletes, I think that Auburn has a slight edge, but it'll be about all of the other things as well. Penalties, turnovers, execution, the same things we talk about for every game. So I'm excited to see this one. I think everybody kind of feels like they know, but they also don't really know what this game is going to be.
I think people might be confident, but I think there's still a nervous confidence if they're really, because they don't, like you said, no. By the way, you can always tell it's a game day. This is a Friday night, which is unique. But when we used to do the pregame, we would come here on a Saturday, and it depends on how early we had to go on the air compared to kickoff. But that what is that street right next to us?
Street.
Bridge Street would be lined up with cars of people who parked here, and they would walk across about a mile or two, and it's already packed. Game is a long way away, so it's going to be fun. We'll be off the air at 6, head to the stadium, and hopefully watch a great game that we talk about, along with many others on Monday of this show.
I'll be fine regardless of result because I'm going to be at the whim of whatever happens between these two teams, and would love to see Baylor win because I know what a great win that would be for the program. But if Auburn wins, so be it. That's the expectation for a lot of people. But yeah, very exciting. Loved what I saw last night in some ways. I mean, just really the action. I loved having like game and game and game to turn to. One after the other, and tonight will be a little bit more of a stepping fully into the deep end, and then tomorrow we're going to be just swimming in the deep end with all the college football games. But I do want to say, pulling back the curtain a little bit, Auburn staying right here.
Yep.
The city of Waco with just the worst planning, like in history. Like they don't take into account football season. I bet Auburn, Alabama's town like councils take football season into account, but outside of the Auburn Hotel is the big sewer pipe because they're moving the sewer pipe and decided to start doing that like 3 weeks ago. And it's been going on this entire time. So there's been this giant sewer pipe, and it's squarely right in front of Auburn's hotel.
Their bus had to go in a different way because if they came in the way that they would probably come in from 35, he would have like tried to drive up to the front of the hotel to drop them off and hit a sewer pipe.
It would have been like trying to fit a couch that's too big into a doorway.
It's gamesmanship.
You know what? If Baylor was an SEC team, I would say that it was. I would say that it was like calculated, but this is totally unrelated. But you combine that with all of the construction on 35, shocker, and just what I guess the city of Waco decided to just do every project all at once around downtown. So it looks like a damn war zone around here. Yeah. But Auburn's out here and representing. It is just kind of funny that there's a massive sewer pipe in front of their hotel, and you can kind of smell it when you drive by. So that's not typically the way that it is around here. Just want to let the Auburn fans know. But, yeah, man, looking forward to this one.
All right, we have Ronnie Brown, who's going to join us here in a minute. Former Auburn All-American running back, played in the NFL, part of the Auburn Radio Network. He's going to join us, in fact, right now. Garrett, we have Ronnie Brown. We'll get to the games from last night and a couple of stories, including a Big 12 quarterback who's out for the next 5 or 6 weeks. Ronnie, thank you very much. I know you got a busy schedule, a crazy busy week with the opening week and a game day pregame in about 45 minutes. Thank you very much for your time. We were just discussing that this is a game where both teams, I think, and fan bases can be confident, but is there a nervous energy because they're not so sure?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest part of it. It's the uncertainty, right? Like first is, week one, but then it's also Friday night. So those variables, and then just kind of not knowing. It's not like there's a big, huge familiarity amongst these two teams. And so, there's question marks, there's changes that each team has had. And so when you look at the game, it's kind of like, okay, well, which one takes the lead on that and who makes the least amount of mistakes, I think is going to be the key to victory.
So, Ronnie, what have you seen from Hugh Freeze developmentally over the summer that makes you think that this team is ready to take that step forward finally?
Well, I think the biggest thing is the change in personnel over the last few years, right? Like, previous years, I think we've kind of added some depth. And so he's done a better job of that. And then also just recruiting wise, right? Like he's been able to get a few guys that probably fits his offense better, especially the change from the previous regime. And so, now, I believe that each coach has that challenge, right? Like when you get a new coach, well, then it's how does the system fit that you run, the personnel that the team has, right? And so you inherit other people's teams. Whereas now he's had a few years to kind of get the type of guys that he's looking for, recruit guys, get some guys out of the portal. I think the biggest thing is the veteran O-line, right? Like having some guys that, are draft eligible guys, I think, that up front. And he has some talented wide receiver group, running back by committee in terms of some depth, guys that have been here though, and waited their turn. So, I think that helps as well. And so I think cumulative with all those things, it gives him an opportunity to kind of get into what we would say his bag in terms of calling an offense because he's kind of had a chance to get his type of players. And so this will be the year that hopefully, you can see the fruits of that labor in that part of it.
Ronnie, Auburn's always got a great run game, and you were very much a part of that in your day. But it seems like all the talk offensively with the Tigers is the wide receiver talent and the questions around Jackson Arnold. But how much of a impact do you expect the Auburn run game to play in tonight's outcome? How much do you think we're talking about that as one of the factors in a win if Auburn wins tonight?
Well, hopefully that's the key, right? Like I think Baylor's offense, their strength is probably their offensive line. Obviously their quarterback Sawyer, they're expecting big things from him this year. But for Auburn, when you're on the road, I think that gives you an opportunity to be aggressive. When you're in the running game, I always talk about it. When you talk about the passing game, well, that makes your linemen on. It doesn't give them the advantage because they don't get to be the aggressors. Their first step is usually backwards, and so. The defensive line has the advantage, whereas when you run in the football, you get a chance to fire off. You get to be the aggressor, and you get in the trenches and your running back gets an opportunity to make you right. And so, and it just eliminates it's not as many opportunities for penalties, right? That's the key to the beginning of the season, right? You don't want a lot of penalties. You want the game to be clean. And so, the more the ball's in the air, the more opportunity for negative plays and negative things that happen, whether that's holding calls, pass interferences, interceptions, all of those things. And so everybody has to be on the same page. So if Auburn's able to, start off running the ball, I think it'll give, this group an opportunity to settle into the game. They've been sitting around all day. And so hopefully the nerves and everything. And so if you're able to establish the run and you get the game going, then that will favor, one, you're eating up clock, you're keeping Baylor's offense off the field. And so hopefully all those things work together.
We've had Cole Kublik on. We've had Jason Campbell on, and also some Auburn writers along the way throughout the summer. Roddy, you played there, all-conference running back, played in the NFL, of course. How do you describe an Auburn fan?
Loyal. I think if there was one key word, right? Like there's been some ups and downs, especially more downs as of late the last few years. Have had moments of success, have had opportunities for success. Whether it's, last minute losses, last second throws to Alabama and, being in the game for a lot of those. And so, I think it's a loyal group, loyal fan base. As you come into Auburn, we talk about like the advantage of being in, Jordan-Hare Stadium, the advantage that has being in front of our home crowd. And so I think it's a loyal group that anticipates success, right? Not only from a fan base, just from, a university standpoint, right? Like beyond the university and life after college. And so, we've kind of grown to expect that. But we just haven't had those results. But that's always that striving for excellence. And I feel like that's what our group is, right? Like we're hard-nosed, blue-collar group that's looking to be successful, don't mind working hard and earning what you get. And it's in the bedrock of who we are as a university. When you look at the creed and all of those things, we don't mind, working hard and hard work and, earning what we get.
If I were to say that you and Cadillac Williams were the second best running back duo of all time, how fast would I have to duck?
I just asked you who was
No,
the first, right?
Yeah, that's what, like I've looked through before, like when Smokey told us we were going to have you. I just looked on the internet to see what people had, and there's maybe a couple that we could sit down and have like a real heated discussion. But man, I really don't think there's anybody else. Like Barry Sanders and Thurman Thomas are at Oklahoma State at the same time, but I wouldn't necessarily have called them a duo. Really, they
right.
One was the starter, and then one was the starter after that. So yeah, I mean the fact that you guys were pretty much equal in when you touched the ball. I don't know if there's ever been really anything like you guys together.
Yeah, I'd take that argument. I feel like there are some teams that have been great out there. You look at some of the groups that Georgia's had. You look at Miami, what they had. They had a group of guys, but I don't know if it was tandems, like you said. It was just more so guys waiting their turn. What Arkansas was able to do with Darren McFadden and Felix Jones, and Peyton Hill, it's like maybe that was another one. But I think when you just talk about guy for guy and being able to go in, and we shared the backfield at times, and I played fullback at times. That would be a good argument, and I'd probably lean towards our favor when it comes to, I think from, execution, and what we were able to do.
So, Ronnie, did you guys get rings previously for 2004, like the national championship, because of the story recently where Auburn obviously is like claiming these titles? But did you guys celebrate that as a national championship at the time?
No, because I was chomping at the bit to get in the game, right? And now it's 20 years later. It's like I said before, it's about earning everything that you get, right? Like, and so not having an opportunity, I felt like we'd previously played USC, but we were kind of, not in the same position, when it looks at, you look at, we had a new coordinator every year. And so I thought that was the best chance that we had. And we were a dang physical football team. And I think that's where our advantages lied for that group. And we were a confident group in one another. Like it was things that we did away from the field that, nobody would ever see when it comes to, like little things like prayer meetings and night before the game dinners and things of that nature. Like I felt like our group was so tight knit that we were really prepared for anything, and never in any moment during the season that we ever feel like there was a game that we couldn't win. And that confidence only grew throughout that season.
So is that exciting for you that it's going to be, I guess, officially acknowledged that you guys are maybe, I guess, in a sense, going to get your just due, even if you've maybe already gotten it from the fan base?
Yeah, it's cool, just to understand. I think for people to realize, in any conference, right, how difficult it is to go undefeated. But then in particular in our conference, right? Like the challenge of doing that, just because even when the teams aren't necessarily as great on paper, the physicality and, the opportunities of injury, and then you're going into it and the next week you're having a big game, right? Like people underestimate that, I think, a lot. Like, it's like, oh, well, y'all's conference, like, the best the best team in our conference can beat, y'all's Vanderbilts and Kentucky's and things of that nature. But they don't realize, like, those are pretty good teams too. It's just usually stacked around them. There's challenges, when you talk about, their curriculum and, being able to recruit. But from a talent perspective, they have some of those same type players, just not as many, right? And not as much depth. But, usually when some teams are comparing, to our conference, it's usually the best person or best team from their conference comparing to our conference, right? That may be one of 5 or 6 teams that could have been that number one team, right? And so I think that's just the difference.
Roddy, what are your thoughts? Baylor lost their backup, or kind of their offset running back to change the tempo, in Dawson Pendergrass. But what are your thoughts when you watch Bryson Washington on tape?
Well, I think he's a physical guy, right? Like, I think just, I think he understands the game. He takes what teams give him. So he's disciplined running back. And those are the hard ones, right? Because they'll take what they get, and then all of a sudden they'll bust off and get a big run. And so, you look at guys like that and it's like, okay, you got to make sure that you're corralling them on every play, right? But it also helps, Auburn that, they don't have that change of pace, because you can set in and put your ears back to know what you're going to get from one guy. And I think that's the challenge. You brought up Carnell and myself, or Cadillac and I. That was the thing. He was 210 pounds. I was 235 pounds. And so you also talk about the change of pace and doing things different, but he was also a physical guy that had some wiggles. I was a bigger guy that could, make guys miss. And so when you able to do that, it keeps defenses on their heels. And too, just having two guys, right, keeping guys fresh. I think we underestimate that a little bit, and people don't appreciate it that much. Like especially like a lot of players, because it's like, well, what could I do if I had another 15 carries? But the potential of the fatigue and trying to do certain things, and so that's going to be a challenge, especially for the first game, right? Like because you've gone through practice and it's physical and it's hard, but it wasn't every down. Right now you're in there, you don't have that change of pace guy. It's hot, like your juices are flowing, and so cramps and all of those things come into mind when you don't have that 1A, 1B type of attack.
Ronnie Brown, former Auburn running back, NFL running back, with us on 365 Sports. My last question, and again, thanks for your time. Good luck with your broadcast tonight and also the pregame and the game. When you look at, you were at Auburn right about the time when the SEC took over in the early 2000s, and then made the run to where it seems like they have what are a dozen national titles. Auburn, obviously, with Cam Newton, had one too. Did you see that brewing? Because it wasn't like that in Florida, LSU, and eventually, of course, Alabama, Auburn, and others. Your thoughts about seeing that happening?
No, it was a pleasant surprise. Obviously, at the end of the day, our conference and the representation. But I didn't see it because you look at what USC has built. You talk about Michigan, Ohio State, Miami. Florida State had their run, and so you always expect those teams to be in the running, to get athletes, to have competitive teams, and then so for the SEC's dominance to be what it was. I don't know what happened. I don't know if we started to also get some of the people from their conferences or, their regions wanting to participate in our conference because of the notoriety that we got a lot of times. And so we were able to go, teams, when you talk about, all of our teams able to go to those regions and recruit some of their top players. But then it's just, in the Southeast, like what football is, right? Like, I think the pedestal that people put football on, the competitive spirit, the fan bases, the participation, even when, I talk about, tailgates and you talk about, crowds and stadiums, right? Like you look at the SEC, and if you go to, a majority of the SEC versus SEC games, it's an experience unlike any other, right? And so I think all of that played along with it, it participated in, I think, that run that's been so dominant over those few years. And always in the conversation about, having a team that's going to represent, our conference potentially in the national championship.
Enjoy the night. Enjoy the game. Ronnie, thanks for your time. Appreciate and love watching you run with the football and doing what you're doing now. Have a great game.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Ronnie Brown, Auburn Radio Network, former SEC, all-SEC running back. Had a heck of a career in the NFL. Started out with the Dolphins. Eventually played for the Eagles, Chargers, Texans, and back with the Chargers. And he's from Cartersville, Georgia. First-round pick in 2005. When we come back, Zach Barnett, footballscoop.com. We'll also look at the games and discuss them from last night. We also have Mike Scarborough on that LSU-Clemson game later today. Rod Babers on Texas and Ohio State later today. And Josh Neighbors will also be a part of the show today. And the top five, this is 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, lowt.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. Your testosterone level drops. 1 out of every 3 to 4 men it happens. Usually when you get to your mid to upper 30s, early 40s, it happens. And it's just part of life. Father Time, if you don't feel quite the same, if your energy has dropped dramatically, you just don't have that oomph in many ways, Dr. Kent Petty can find out if, in fact, it's your testosterone level that has dropped. How do you know? Call him, text him, go to whatever you can in the website, pettycliniclowt.com. Tell them I sent you. They will set you up to get your blood work, take care of that, get the results, get in contact with you, and maybe you're okay. But if you're not, he could put you in a program so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be at pettycliniclowt.com.
It's my go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf car batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a T-fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Drive the Motor Trend Truck of the Year during the Make This the Summer event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get a new award-winning Ram half-ton Laramie Crew Cab with $15,000 off plus 3.9% for $72, or grab a new Ram Lone Star Crew Cab, $11,000 off MSRP plus 3.9% for $72. Plus, Toyota, Ford, and GM owners get an additional $1,500 in savings right now. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student-athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student-athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student-athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow @GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student-athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Summer's heating up, but Bird Coach and Ford is freezing the prices.
Right now, get 0% APR for 48 months, 0 down, and no payments for 90 days. Cool off with us in our freezing showroom and catch a hot deal before summer's over. Whether it's an F-150, Explorer, or Escape, we've got the perfect deal waiting for you.
Whew. Texas weather can be crazy. Shop anytime inside our showroom or at bkford.com. Experience better at Bird Coach and Ford.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Zach Barnett, footballscoop.com, joins us. 365 Sports on a night when Auburn and Baylor take center stage. Illinois, by the way, playing Western Illinois, a top 20 games for 12th ranked, the Illini and Brett Bielema. Zach, your thoughts about the game tonight with Auburn and Baylor?
I'm very excited to see this game. I'm really excited to get another look at Jackson Arnold. Right about half a mile off the screen that way is the Alito Football Stadium, and I'll be at the Geyer-Alito game tonight. It was this night 3 years ago that I saw Jackson Arnold have one of the best games I've ever seen any high school ever play. 348 yards, 4 touchdowns, beat an Alito team by 30 that wouldn't lose a game for the rest of that season. So I'm thinking this guy's going to go to Oklahoma and absolutely dominate. He's going to take the world by storm. And obviously that did not happen. Oklahoma left him by the side of the road. And Auburn paid $1 million to get him. And I'm really excited to see what Hugh Freeze has done with him in 9 months of work with him. I know they've invested heavily. Cam Coleman, as a recruit, was right up there with Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith. Eric Singleton cost as much to get from Georgia Tech in the portal as far as I know, any non-quarterback in the portal this past year. So it should be pretty good. I know there's been some warning signs coming out of Auburn this training camp, and we'll see what their game plan looks like on first, second, third down. And they said they may play 3 quarterbacks. So it hasn't been a smooth month for Auburn, to put it lightly. So I don't think any coach needs a win this weekend more than Hugh Freeze does. So I'm really excited to see this game.
How do you think Baylor matches up? Actually, Auburn's been favored the entire offseason. There are sports books starting to flip over to Baylor right now as a favorite in this game.
I wouldn't be surprised if Baylor won the game. I know I don't know what the total is. I think both teams probably get to 30. If Baylor was healthier on the back end, I'd feel better about their chances. And maybe it's a blind faith pick. Maybe I'm going to look completely stupid, but I think Jackson Arnold has a good game, and I think Auburn wins.
Zach, did you have any big impressions? You get much of a chance to get your eyes on the games last night? And if so, what stood out to you, if anything?
Yeah, I would have liked to see Nebraska play better. They looked like the same Nebraska team that we've seen for since Bo Pelini left. A team that does not major in the small stuff. They should have been up 17-3 at half, probably, and they had a first and goal at the 1 yard line, a false start. They're at the 6, don't move the ball again, and then ended up kicking a field goal. And then Cincinnati had a chance to win the game that was 20-17. That should have been 24-17. Dylan Raiola, again, I think is better at the big stuff. The Patrick Mahomes stuff is well documented, but I think he's still lacking. So Nebraska needed that win, obviously, and they got it, and that's what matters. And I guess they technically won a one-score game, when it's something they've struggled to do for a long, long time now. But if I'm a Nebraska fan, I would have much rather seen us win that game 35-17 than 20-17.
Get to the 1 yard line, false start. That's what they've been doing for about a decade, and then not able to put it away, although it looked like it. Then they give up a quick drive. Sorsby ran the ball well. Cincinnati did. And that throw at the end, if it's a little bit further outside, maybe it's a touchdown. Satterfield went for the kill. But I think he thought it was anything. If it's not caught, it's incomplete. 4th and 2, they keep the drive alive and at least get a minimum of maybe a field goal, don't you?
Yeah, and knowing Nebraska, weren't you just thinking this is absolutely going to be a Cincinnati touchdown, and Nebraska's going to pull defeat from the jaws of victory for the 85th time in the last decade and a half?
Yeah. When they got the ball, moved it pretty quickly, I'm thinking, okay, the pass interference call for another 12, 15 yards, absolutely was expecting that to be complete.
And I mean, I think one thing that is fascinating about football is that the good teams find a way to win games, the bad teams find a way to lose games, and can be a feeling that creeps on the sidelines, and once that feeling hits your team, I think it's almost impossible to get rid of it. It's very, very difficult to do. And I mean, I could think of teams that are you can see it when it happens, when they're like, all right, we're going to win this game. And I could see it when it happens, all right, we're going to I don't know how it's going to happen. We're going to find a way to lose this game. And so I know Matt Rule has done a lot of work to try and get that out of Nebraska, because when we were growing up, they were the Alabama of their time for 30 years. And now since then, the disease of losing, of here we go again, has crept in. And so to their credit, they staved off the disease last night. But again, that should have been an 18-point game and not a 3-point game.
Zach, I have a theory on Dylan Raiola that I'd like to run by you. And I wonder if Smoak, you'll agree as well. I think Dylan Raiola will be immensely better when he stops trying to method act Patrick Mahomes, and he is Dylan Raiola.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I do. It's like he's almost trying to mirror him. I agree. Just go be yourself. First of all, it puts an incredible amount of pressure on you that you don't need, because there's only one Patrick Mahomes.
And then I think also the fact that he's at Nebraska, I think it's great. I think it's great for college football that he's there. And I think he's a fascinating player to watch. And I hope if he leads Nebraska to 9 wins or 10 wins, that'd be a great story. But I'm not sure it's the best thing for him specifically. It looks like someone that's just not comfortable being themselves. And I'm not going to pretend to say that's correct or know why. But your play at the school of your dad and your uncles, and then you're trying to be your hero. And it's just, who is Dylan Raiola? I completely agree with your theory.
Zach Barnett with us, footballscoop.com. And then there is tomorrow. Your thoughts? We got two big bangers, Zach. There's others. Notre Dame, Miami later in the weekend, but Texas, Ohio State, and Clemson, LSU, a couple of they aren't appetizers. Those are the full meal deal.
Yeah, I'll start with Clemson, LSU, because I'm one of those that in my off-season research was thinking, okay, Clemson, they have the pieces to win a national championship. And LSU, under Brian Kelly, I'll wait to be proven wrong. And then at the same time, I'm doing my research, and I'm like, the last time we saw this Clemson team, they were losing to South Carolina. Probably easily could have lost to SMU. If that kickoff that Clemson returned to the 50, if that goes 2 yards deeper, they probably don't bring it out. That game goes to overtime, and SMU probably wins. Clemson doesn't make the playoff. And then they make the playoff, and they're in the game, but they're not really threatening to win the game against Texas. Like Cade Klubnik had some great individual moments. The receivers had some great individual moments against a really good Texas secondary. But at the same time, they lost by 14 in the game they're expected to lose by 10-14. And that's what we've seen in Clemson. And then 8 months go by, and we're like, this team could win the national championship. Having said that, I like Tom Allen a lot as a defensive coordinator. I think he's going to bring improvement there. I think the most important positions on the field these days are quarterback, wide receiver, and defensive line. And I think Clemson is better at all those spots than LSU. And I think Clemson's going to win the game. So if we're proven wrong and they look like the same team as last year, I guess shame on me along with everyone else. In regards to Texas, Ohio State, I think I'd rather be Texas, but I'd like to know how the Texas offensive line performs. Like if the offensive line is a stalemate, then I like Texas to win ever so slightly. If the offensive line beats the Ohio State defensive line, I think they probably win by 7-10. And if the Texas offensive line loses to Ohio State, then Ohio State wins the game.
Zach, just having these types of matchups to talk about, and there are various others. I mean, there's been a lot of, just in the lead up, the promotional aspect of this, talking about all of the big bangers this weekend. How can we standardize this? And do you think that maybe with the the decision by the SEC to move the 9 games, do you think that this is more commonplace that college football has multiple mega matchups on the first couple of opening weekends?
Yeah, I think it's definitely coming, and you've kind of seen I think people have been knowing this for a while now. Like one of the people we're talking about, like Georgia on their upcoming schedule has like Ohio State and Florida State and Georgia Tech on their upcoming schedules, and it's like, well, they're obviously canceling at least one of these with the SEC going to 9 conference games. So I think this has been in the works for a while. I think the SEC obviously mandating the Power 4 non-conference opponent. We know why, because your Florida States, your Georgias, your South Carolinas, your Kentuckys, they have to play their in-state schools, so they're not going to let everyone else get off the hook if they have to do it. And so, Alabama has Wisconsin coming to town later on this month. Oklahoma has Michigan. They're going to go on the road to Michigan in upcoming seasons. Ohio State's going on the road to Texas. So I think this is going to be the norm. I wonder, I know that the Big Ten plan, where everything's based off where you finish in your conference standings, I think that's a little bit of bridge too far, where maybe we would get more of these games, but they'd officially we'd turn September into what August is in the NFL and just try and survive it. It doesn't really matter how you do. I think that goes a little bit too far, but I don't think we're in any real danger of teams just trying to bring in Western Illinois 3 times in a row throughout the month of September.
Zach, Bill Belichick makes his college debut on Monday. TCU could be like one of those sneaky teams that gets better this year. I'm not completely sold on the talent that they've been able to amass at North Carolina. I don't know if they're going to be better or just different than last year. What do you think about Belichick year one?
I think I have my rating for him is just a standard issue failure is about 50%. Mm-hmm. And total disaster is 20%. And that's for my rating is very scientific. It'd take the whole hour to get into explaining it, but I'll just say that's the highest rating I have of anyone for disaster in college football. Like I think he's put a lot of faith in Michael Lombardi, and I think Michael Lombardi's the biggest fraud in football. And I think they think they're going to walk in and just outsmart people and out-recruit people in college football. And I think there's a general lack of respect for how things are done in college football. I think it's going to be Charlie Weiss at Notre Dame until proven otherwise, except with worse players. And I feel fairly confident TCU is going to go in there and win that game on Monday night, and they might spank North Carolina.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think TCU wins that game, and if they don't, then that'll be something to talk about, entirely different, but interesting nonetheless. We just got word in the last, hour or so. Fox has let it be known they're going to simulcast Lee Corso's final headgear pick from College Game Day, which is an incredibly cool touch to tomorrow's festivities. How locked in will you be on this particular game day and the finale of the great Lee Corso?
So that's a great question, because we're going to be on the air on the ticket here in Dallas, and so we're going to do our 10:50 segment. It's going to be about Lee Corso. Wow. Even though we have 10 different games that could carry their own segment, I think it's worth it for us to devote one segment to him just because of what he means. He's Dick Vitale meets John Madden of college football. Yeah. And we all have memories of what watching him and what he means to that sport. And your mom, your wife, your daughter, they don't care about college football. If it's on TV and the headgear is about to come out, it's one of those you stop and watch just to see, even if you don't even care. It's just the spectacle of seeing your grandpa put on Big Al's headgear. You just have to watch it. I think Lee Corso understood TV and understood college football, and he's, I think, I think he's on the Mount Rushmore maybe of most interesting or most important ESPN personalities, just due to what College Game Day and college football in general has meant to that network. And then I think he's certainly on the Mount Rushmore for all networks within college football. So for him to leave this game is going to be a moment, and I'm glad Fox is showing him his proper respect. And it's going to be really, really weird moving forward to see how ESPN closes their show, because there's no possible way you can top that.
I saw the documentary on him. I guess it was maybe over the last weekend. It was phenomenal. It really was. It was just incredible.
It was a tearjerker all the way around. And, I don't want to, it's a very wonderful gesture from Fox to do it, but it's also pretty common sense of any show that you're ever going to run ever, no one's watching the end of Fox. Even if you are a dyed-in-the-wool, I hate ESPN and I'm a Fox viewer, they're going to flip over for the last 5 minutes either way. So might as well just ride with it and get them to stay with you, right?
That's a great point. I mean, if you want to be purely cynical about this, because we know Fox is coming for Game Day and the throne, and I think it's great that they're doing that. But the cynical view is they know they would have literally zero viewers, so that they can keep whatever audience they have by just showing what ESPN has to show. That's probably the PR answer is they're showing respect, but probably the real answer is they're doing it because it's the best thing for them in that moment.
Thank you, Zach. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the college football weekend. Have a great day.
Sounds good. Thank you all for having me.
Zach Barnett, footballscoop.com. We appreciate his time. We'll look at LSU Clemson at 4:25, Texas and Ohio State with Rod Babers at 5. Let's kind of wrap up last night. Oklahoma State lost Haas Haney. Quarterback is going to miss about a month or more. Starting quarterback, I think it was the first 3 series, and then broke his left foot. Is having surgery and will miss 5 weeks. Oklahoma State then went to Flores, who put up decent numbers. Haney had thrown a touchdown, could be back yet when they opened up the Big 12 against Baylor in late September.
They said it's about a 5-week injury, optimistically. So he could. I would put it, just giving them time to recover and all that, we'll see. They won that game 27-7 last night. They didn't exactly set the world on fire. But they did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, it's good to be 1-0. That's much better than being the alternative. It's much better than being Cincinnati waking up today, even though I think they've got some things to be proud about as well. But for Oklahoma State, 1-0, that's the big thing. And for what we got to see of Haas Haney, I think it was a lot of what was expected, a playmaker with his legs. Still some work to be done in the passing game. But, yeah, a couple touchdown drives and then, unfortunately, the injury. And so I think it's kind of an incomplete grade on if you're one of those that tries to apply a letter or something along those lines to a performance. I think it's an I for Haas Haney. I think it was trending well when it started. But then you just not enough information when you're getting hurt that early in the ball game, unfortunately. So Zane Flores came in and played well enough. I think there's still a lot of questions about Oklahoma State. Certainly that game a bit too tight, but you did have the curveball of Haney getting hurt early. Maybe it looks a little bit different at the end if he plays the majority of that game. But Flores was in a major competition all the way up until here in the last couple of days. They clearly like some of what he brings to the table to let it linger on that long. So, Zane, here's your chance, buddy. I mean, you're going to get the reins for the next month, most likely. And then if it's still a question mark, then you didn't do enough to win the job. Mm-hmm. So you got a chance to go win the job right now. Go win 4 games in a row, right? And play well. And then when Haas Haney comes back and be like, hey, bud, we're 5-0, 4-1, whatever we are. Zane's got this thing rolling. And so this is a huge opportunity for Flores to take over now. But I hate that for Haney. He's definitely a player that can be very exciting at times, and we saw that in his high school days. So to win the job and then to get hurt in game number 1 like that, especially after you've had a couple scores, it just sucks. It just really sucks. So I hope he's 100% sooner rather than later. But there are a lot of questions about Oklahoma State. I think that just kind of reinforces last night, like, it's going to be kind of hit or miss on what this looks like by the end of the year. But no, we'll see. It's just one game, so there's a long way to go.
Well, and I of course, didn't get to watch much of anything. I got home just in time to watch the fourth quarter of Nebraska-Cincinnati. I went to the game cast of the games that were played for Big 12 teams, and that one saw that they won. I said, okay, good. And then I just was curious. I went to the box score, and then I saw that Flores had played. I wondered, okay, were they mixing in and out? And then, of course, I eventually read that he had hurt himself or was injured, and that's why the change.
Very similar situations in that game and then UCF and Jack State where Cam Fancher got hurt and Taven Jackson.
Yeah, before we move on, though, I want to say it was a pretty cool Wendell Gregory with the 3 sacks early in the game, and so that's a very cool accomplishment and a really great start to the season as he was hell for UT Martin's backfield and quarterback. So I think there were some things that were bright spots from last night. To be sure, I don't think you saw something that goes, oh, well, we thought they might finish lower. Like, we're putting them at the top of the pile now. We didn't see anything along those lines. But, again, that's fine. It was a good first step forward and win. Unfortunate, not only was Haney got hurt, but Oklahoma State dealing with some other injuries. And for them, I hope that they can stay healthy enough with their critical players so that we don't have a situation like last year when they got ravaged pretty early on. With major key players, especially on defense, getting injured. So, let's hope they have a bit better health this time around. But they didn't have it early on in that game with the Haney injury. I couldn't believe. I was like, you got to be kidding me! Like, after all this offseason. But he'll be back, and that's the good news. It's not a season-ending injury, and we'll see where the quarterback position and where Oklahoma State is at that point. But 1-0, baby.
And so then I started looking at the other games, and I saw where Houston shut out Stephen F. Boston, as expected, but then saw this very late last night. Willie Fritz, Houston's football coach, that Rashawn Sanford, the young man from Harker Heights High School in Killeen, out for the year again with yet another ACL. And this is a young man that's very exciting. He fought himself back, played a little bit last year, but he is now done for the year even before it began. And nice win for the Cougars to shut out SFA and move on.
Yeah, they looked like a team that kind of knew what they were doing right off the bat this year. And again, we'll see how much talent and depth they have. This certainly hits them hard. But look, a shutout against anybody's a shutout. I mean, it's hard to do in college football. Even if you're playing a team that is an FCS team like SFA is, I mean, still, like you're going to give up points. And they lost their defensive coordinator and really didn't miss a beat. So, we'll see how that translates when they play other ones. So,
yeah, I mean, you're not worried about Shieldwood as of last night, but we'll see when they play somebody who's a bit more of a step up in competition. But you play who you play, and posting a shutout at any time against anybody is always a great feeling. And so that's very encouraging that just because you lost a pretty good coordinator, Willie Fritz still knows defense. He still knows guys that know defense. And so I think I'm not too worried about the coaching aspect of things, and to go and limit a team to 0 points is a great way to start the season for that Houston defense, which could be a big part of what makes them a contender this year. But Connor Wegman looks sharp, looks solid. I think there's more to explore there, obviously, as we move further on down the line. Dean Connors coming over from Rice. Saw him in my Earl Campbell Award information work last year. I mean, it seemed like on a weekly basis for Rice, he was having a big game. And he's kind of a traveled guy. He's from Hawaii originally, has bounced around a couple times, and now he's landed at Houston. I think that's a nice addition to their backfield, especially in light of the Sanford injury, now that we know he's unavailable. So even more important to have a guy who's a veteran with a lot of experience like a Dean Connors. So I think that'll definitely benefit them more moving forward. And Wegman, I'm excited just to see more of him as he gets more comfortable, and Houston gets more comfortable with their coordinator changes and just getting that game experience. And that sucks for Rashawn Sanford. I mean, some guys just don't have any luck when it comes to the health factor, and you just wonder if he's going to be one of those guys that it's always like that, or is he going to eventually be somebody who gets healthy and then we go, oh, wow, like that's what we're waiting on, But I hate that, like all these other injuries, and knock on wood, we don't see any more this weekend, although I'm sure we will.
Yeah,
but that sucks.
He can give him something, but now, and I got to know him a little bit his senior year. I hate it, just absolutely hate it. Yeah, they ran for 191 yards, Houston did. 340-something yards overall. SFA was held to 40 yards rushing, and then only 145 total yards.
Yeah, I think it was a game where you played to the point where you're happy with the results and you're overall happy with the improvements you saw, but you're not satisfied, obviously. And there was a definite breath of fresh air on the offensive side of the football. That was an atrocious offense to watch last year. I mean, it really was. That was a difficult watch, switching quarterbacks and just lots of turnovers, and just not what an offense should look like and operate like on a regular, consistent weekly basis, even though Donovan Smith would have his games here and there where he'd put up some numbers, but they just weren't a smooth operating machine. And I think you've got a little glimpse that it could be a much better looking offense in 2025, which is the entire point of making the moves that you did.
All right, so we've discussed Cincinnati. Oh, no, we haven't. I brought it up to Alvin Tran. Hell of a game. Had a chance to win it. Thought they were. Zach Barnett kind of brought this up. Here's one thing that Cincinnati fans are pissed about. One, that they lost the game. This is Kansas City. This is the home of the Kansas City Chiefs. This was supposed to be Cincinnati had a home game that they gave up to play here. And yes, they're red too, but all the ticket sales apparently were as much as 90% Nebraska. And Satterfield mentioned that. We got a quote from him, I think, Garrett.
Yeah, I got the video.
Here's a video from him, a short little clip from him in the postgame.
I mean, it certainly is Cincinnati's home game, but it didn't feel like it for sure. That was one of the louder stadiums that I've been a part to play a game in. It certainly affected us offensively. I think we had 4 false start penalties, having to go silent cadence. One early in the first half, we complete a pass to Cyrus and get a first down. That comes back and we end up having to punt. So it definitely affected the game. Their crowd was good here tonight.
Yeah, it was loud. And then yet again, Cincinnati still had the ball and a chance to tie it or win it at the end. Here's how bad Nebraska's been. One note. That's their first Power 4 opponent to beat in a season opener since they beat Oklahoma State in a Big 12 game in 2003 to start the season.
Wow.
Well, a lot of teams, they haven't beaten a Power 4 opponent in a season opening game in 22 years until they hung on somehow and beat Cincinnati.
Well, look, I know that like you're not gonna get overly excited about it because it is just one win, but being able to not blow the game for their confidence it's an important thing. It's an important thing to know that like you can that they can win the game and not blow it.
No, they
right?
they have
know
not
that
been
now.
able to make that play for about 6 to 7 years.
Yeah, so now they can make it. Like, look, the same thing I think happened with Baylor last year. After that Colorado game, I was like, well, that's probably about it for them.
Yeah.
And then they kind of woke up and realized, like, hey, all we have to do, is not just let the receiver go. When when that happens and not get confused and know it and have the faith. So I think the culture has helped that. I really thought Emmett Johnson was impressive last night.
They have nobody else.
Yeah.
They have nobody else at running back.
Yeah. So, somebody's going to have to figure out their way and step up. Dylan Raiola was good. He's not great yet. He's good. And they'll get by with them. And I was really impressed with the defense and what they did with Brennan Sorsby in the passing game. Now, they were in the game because they couldn't contain him running the ball. He did a great job doing that. But 13 of 25 for 69 yards and an interception passing, not going to get it done most nights.
I think that I'm not going to be too harsh on a young man, but Dylan Raiola is clearly the swagger jacker of the year lead candidate. I mean, it's goofy at this point, and everybody knows that. The Mahomes homages, I mean, it's just so kind of just strange is maybe the word for it.
Be yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I get some nods here and there, but it's like such carbon copy that it's just kind of strange. But nevertheless, not gonna judge too much further than that. But I thought that in terms of, I've got a lot of thoughts on this game actually, but I thought in terms of the crowd aspect, Cincinnati's the one that had the choice.
Yep.
Cincinnati could have said, nope, we're not going to take the money. We're going to keep our home field, whatever advantage that is for us, however much we can buy out the tickets to prevent this from being a Nebraska flood in the secondary market and taking over our stadium, as we've seen in some places. You could have done that. Yeah, that and hand A. Home game against Nebraska, you control the strings. And then you had the take the money route and have the Kelce's involved route, because they're not asking Cincinnati, Nebraska be damned, to play in Arrowhead Stadium if not for the Travis Kelce connection. Like, that's clearly what they were aiming for there. So home game against a big-time opponent and home field advantage to whatever degree, and I think Nippert's a stadium that has a home field advantage.
Yeah.
Or a bunch of money and the Kelce's. And they chose the money and the Kelce's. And did that cost them the game last night? In some ways it might have. Now, did that give them promotional materials that are well worth losing that game that'll pay off dividends now and in the future? Perhaps it did. I don't know the inner workings enough to know whether or not. I know I didn't see them for most of the later part of the game. I don't know if they dipped at some point, but we saw a bunch of them early on. I know Mahomes left sometime in the second half because it was getting late, and I'm sure he had like some 7 a.m. workout or something like that. But you got a lot of that FaceTime, Taylor Swift, the Kelce's, Patrick Mahomes, and especially Travis, but Jason as well, really pumping up the Bearcats when you would get glimpses of them. So that's what you traded off, and it might have cost you this game having to battle that Nebraska crowd. So that's something you look back on, and it's a hindsight is 2020, but that's also something that was discussed going into this game. Was like, is this the best idea? Well, mainstream exposure and money is what you chose. So there was that part of it. I thought it's a really good win for Nebraska. Obviously, they've lost, like you said, and like Matt Rule alluded to, many games like this. So to sit there and make a big play at the end of the game is maybe them turning the corner a little bit. But I also think that they were wildly unimpressive. I mean, as far as are they greatly different and better than the teams we've seen here in the last couple of years? It didn't seem to be that way. But they have a really good defense. And I do think Raiola's got some talent and can make some good plays with his arm. I just think there is like a maturity kind of just something a little bit off from making him a full-blown superstar just yet, but he's clearly got skills and talent. He probably should have had a couple pick sixes last night.
Oh, yeah.
And since he just couldn't reel them in, but they had like at least two pick sixes.
There was one I thought Matthew McDoom had just absolutely broken their hearts, and he didn't get it. The other thing, part of the reason I also think he didn't have some pick sixes last night or some other throws was that he made a couple bad throws that Isaiah Hunter and Dane Key got, went and got, that he didn't have those receivers last year. And so they go get the ball.
Yeah, and that's one of my other points about this is I thought even before the interception at the end of the game to seal it, I thought that Cincinnati's wide receivers were playing soft. They need those guys to toughen up and play stronger and go grab the football and go fight for the football. And you saw it on the interception where, hey, it's a great play by the DB, but the receiver's got to be more. He's got to go get the football.
It's a guy 5'7" who picked it up. You got to go back up.
You got to go grab the football.
Yeah.
And so that's on Sorsby. He probably shouldn't have made that throw. He should have seen the safety there.
Or thrown it slightly to the right, to the sideline.
Yeah, throwing it towards the sideline and let your receiver turn and make the play. But the receivers also got to make a better play on the ball. And I saw that multiple times in that game for Cincy, where I just didn't feel like their receivers were really playing very tough. They were letting the ball come to them. They weren't going and fighting for it. And I think that's something that needs to greatly improve for them. Sorsby wasn't great last night. He was running the football very good. And that's fine. That kept you in the game to some degree. But, yeah, he's got to definitely play better for them to unlock what they need to offensively. So there's definitely some things to work on for Cincinnati. You did, though, kind of see why Scott Satterfield felt good about this team rolling in.
They ran
I think
for 200 yards.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to run the ball well, but they needed more in the passing game. So can they improve on that? We'll see over the next few weeks. But I thought to have a chance at the end of the game was more than probably a lot of people expected from you. And then it just goes from like, hey, we're in this thing, and we got the ball and a chance to win it, to, oh, my God, I can't believe they threw that pick in that situation and that play. And so it's on the receiver. Sorsby probably should have thrown it differently. Maybe you just don't go for all the gusto in that moment because you are in field goal range practically or close to it.
Or it's 4th and 2 and you've been gashing them.
Exactly. You picked up some – so, like, there's a lot to second guess from Cincinnati last night, and it was a blown opportunity, no doubt about it.
All right, so do you know how far it is from Lincoln to Kansas City? Just guess, Paul.
It's not far.
202 miles.
Yeah, it's not bad.
579 miles from Cincinnati to Kansas City.
Yeah.
And I know you could get on a plane, et cetera, but yeah.
You're talking 90% filled with Nebraska fans in an NFL stadium, which I know the college stadiums are bigger than NFL stadiums in a lot of cases. But Arrowhead's a big damn stadium with like a known factor for being loud and all of that. And so, yeah, you basically gave yourself a home disadvantage by taking that game. But was it worth it for the money and the exposure and all that comes with that? I guess they believe so. I would love to ask them that question in private after the game of, like, if you had to make a choice again, what would you do? Because I have a feeling they'd probably say, damn, we should have played this game at Cincinnati and maybe we win this thing.
Doesn't sound like Satterfield looking back at it. He kind of, it was almost like he was, and you don't even know if it was his decision. Right. John Cunningham, the AD, I saw a little bit of that, and I understand. I can understand the frustration of a game and a good matchup of two teams that don't quite know who they are, and they may still not know who they are. Here's one question I have about Raiola. He threw 40-something passes, 270, 60-something yards. Are they afraid for him to throw the ball downfield?
That's all I would do with him is throw the football. Like, I would have him chucking it all over.
They do these little, dinks and dunks, and it's the crossing patterns, and they throw to the tight end, but I only saw pretty much the fourth quarter. I never saw them take a deep shot from just what I saw in the stat sheet too.
I think they did. It wasn't like a regular occurrence, but what I found interesting about them is you got Dana Holgorsen versus Matt Rule, not versus, but them working side by side, and not to mention what other assistants have a say in things. But they did get into a really nice groove early on, and they were throwing it around well. And then you saw them like really start to go to work, and more of what I consider Matt Rule's cup of tea, which is run the football, run the football, run the football, run the football. And they were doing that effectively as well. But I am curious to kind of see just the dynamics of Holgorsen Rule in running that offense throughout the rest of the year.
To me, that's oil and water.
You would think so.
Because Rule's more of a, let's win this game 17-13, which they were going to do.
It's kind of what it felt like. It kind of felt like they were scooting a little bit, and then it was like, we're taking control of the line of scrimmage. We're going to run, and do the more Big Ten. Matt Rule will win 17-3, and it's like, no, you should have just won like 30-10. And
13-3, 20-10. I think he had unbelievable confidence the defense was going to be just fine.
Right.
And they were holding on, believe me, by their fingernails at the end of that game.
And some of the struggles for Cincy offensively is the fact that Nebraska's got a good defense. They've had a good defense the last couple of years.
They missed those two big dudes who are now in the NFL in the front of their defensive line. But yeah, they make you struggle for every yard. Yet they gave up. The part that scared me was 200 yards rushing.
Yeah, no, they definitely need to improve against the running game. I give Cincy some credit for that though, because that's what they do very well.
And they got all those members of the offensive linemen and experience that Satterfield talked about. That would have been a hell of a win for Cincinnati.
It would have been a great win for Cincy, even though it would have been a sloppy win. It wouldn't have mattered. You could throw any adjective you want to on that. They had a chance for it. I mean, the ball right there on the cusp of field goal range. I say on the cusp because I don't know exactly how much they would need for their kicker to feel comfortable, but
I think they were right there.
They were right in the vicinity of it. And so at worst, you are looking at that play gets thrown out of bounds, or you throw it underneath or something, another option, and then you run another couple plays and get a little bit closer, or you eventually settle there and you kick the field goal and send it to overtime. But to throw the pick at the end and have it in that way, just a brutal punch in the gut.
You could see what Satterfield was saying too. And he said that in the post game. He's got to throw it a little bit farther on the outside, so the only one who could catch it is the ground or the receiver.
And great play by the DB who had the penalty and just was kind of in a washing machine as far as some bad things starting to slide that way. And so to sit there and make a big play at the end of the game to kind of make up for that is always a cool thing to see for a guy.
I thought was interesting, Paul and Craig, is that I heard in the post game, I listened a little bit. I stayed up till like 12 or 1 last night, but is that they were picking on him. Cincinnati threw for 69 yards. It's not like they were picking on anybody.
No.
He had the holding call right there on the sideline that extended that drive, but he's kind of one of those instinctive guys. Very fortunate Nebraska was not in overtime and that they won the game and they move on. Believe me, most Husker fans are just relieved that they won the game, but it's not like they're going to be like printing any pennants, caps, or anything about being inside that Big Ten championship game. They got a long way to go, but they did win the game.
The devil on my shoulder wanted to see what the outcry and the talk would be had they lost that game.
Really?
I was curious to see like what would the kind of conversation be. I'm not rooting against Matt Rule.
I know.
Joined us earlier this week, but just from, like I said, the devil on my shoulder, it's like rubbing your hands together and the flames start flickering. It's like, boy, you want something hot. How about the Nebraska fans after a loss to Cincinnati on a game-winning drive by Brendan Sorsby? That would have been just disaster.
I wouldn't be here. I didn't want to be here today anyway, just because of a kind of a long day. But okay, UCF, they won. Nothing fancy. They won the game. So you had Cincinnati losing a bang-bang game. You had Houston take care of SFA as you would expect them to.
Suffocate SFA.
Yep, absolutely. You had Oklahoma State. They won. Nothing to write home about, but they won. And then when you don't win last year, win any game you can.
I do want to say about them.
And then you also had UCF.
And, we'll get to UCF. I do want to say about Oklahoma State, though. I am a little bit concerned about just the Gundy thing. And, I don't know that they turned it around a lot. And, look, it's based on just that game. But, I don't know how much of a step forward this offseason brought based on that. Now, again, it's hard to kind of judge with Haney getting knocked out so early. They might have scored 50. And then we're talking differently today. So I'll reserve any sort of hot take. But I wasn't super encouraged that they're going to go from the bottom of the standings to near the top of the standings based on last night. But
if you had them ninth, you don't have them seventh.
Right.
If you had them ninth, you don't have them 12th. But to be determined.
Yes.
I had them 15th. I didn't know. I mean,
guess who they have next?
They have this another cupcake called Oregon.
Yeah, Oregon.
So, and Oregon's also not coming to Stillwater.
No, that game they're going up in Eugene.
So,
Absolutely. All right,
that's a cool road trip though for Oak State fans.
There's one more game. It's not a Big 12 game, and that doesn't mean that's the only ones we talk about. But let's go back to UCF, and then I got to talk about Alex Golish and the Bulls of USF.
For sure, we were watching that game at the end of the show yesterday. But for UCF, oh my gosh, talk about the word disaster. They narrowly avoided it last night in Scott Frost's re-debut, and fortunately we're able to walk away with a win. But I guess my biggest takeaway from that game is, besides how fortunate they were to win that game and avoid disaster, is that Taven Jackson is the starting quarterback next week. And I don't think that's any question based on what we saw last night. Cam Fancher started out the game, and not a lot to write home about. Got dinged up as well, so we'll see. But I think Taven Jackson showed you enough in making big plays there at the end when they desperately needed something. He got them a couple scores to put them over the top and help seal that deal. So I think you do get at least a little bit of momentum from that, and you can roll that into, all right, we got, it's going to be Taven Jackson. All right, cool, let's move forward. But that was, So that's another game where it was ugly, but also you take into account the rain delay. Like there was basically no fans left by the end of the night because of the rain delay and just the length of that and everything. And so it was kind of weird to see the closing finish, and there's like 15 people in the stands. If you didn't know any, and I actually saw a bunch of people on Twitter like, UCF fans suck. It's like, dude, there was a rain delay. So clearly not everybody filled in on that, but I felt like this great sense of relief for the fans that stuck around, because I was like, God, if you stuck around and then they lost that game, which they very well looked like they were going to do, that would have just been a nightmare scenario. So happy for the home folks that they got to celebrate there at the end. And we'll see on just, I guess, what they want to do as far as the quarterback situation moving forward. But I think Taven Jackson grabbed that QB1 spot for at least right now last night. And they're really fortunate to get that win. I mean, Jacksonville State looked like they were going to pull the upset there for a good long while, and it took some late-minute heroics to flip that script, fortunately for the Knights.
He did really well when he came in. I mean, so like he was very efficient and made big plays and got them the touchdowns. Like it was 3-3 after the third quarter. Yeah. So it's not like the brand of football you got in Orlando last night was rock'em sock'em. It was
a couple hours of a break,
and it wasn't 3-3 in a like one of those defensive struggles. It was 3-3 of teams who were trying to find themselves offensively.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say that like. And look, Charles Kelly, the new head coach at Jacksonville State, is a defensive guy. So, I'm not surprised his team is defense first. But, that was two teams trying to find themselves on offense more than having defenses that were slobber knocking each other.
And I guess to more correct term, lightning delay is what kept causing, which I am knocking on wood.
In early September or something like that.
I am knocking on wood later on tonight because there were storms, kind of rolling through earlier. And I'm sitting there going, it gave me like the return of that feeling of like being in a press, like being in a press box, and you just had the lightning delay after lightning delay. And we've had games where we're in the press box for like 3.5 hours with no plays being ran because of a lightning delay. So that cost them at least a couple hours of that one last night, and definitely didn't help in establishing any kind of a rhythm to that game. But hey, the name of the game, if you're Oklahoma State or UCF or Kansas or Iowa State last week, or anybody that's played, and we're going to get to another one I know that's non-Big 12, but hey, the name of the game is just winning games. So if you won last night, you won last weekend, doesn't matter if it was by 1 or by 100, it's just it's a matter of winning a game.
Style points,
be damned.
I mean, like right now,
worry about that later.
Yeah, you can worry about the style points later. When the committee gets together and they have to split hairs and they go, all right. I mean, like this one, they didn't look that good against this crap team, and all that.
Well,
but
and you don't know where
you don't get to that point without winning. So just get to the point where if you win enough, the committee has to talk about you.
Yes,
that's all you have to do. Win enough so they have to.
If we're talking about UCF's barely beating Jacksonville State at the end of the year because they're in the playoff discussion, then damn it, I'll take that.
Exactly.
I mean, great, cool. Let's have that conversation, because that means we won all of our games after that, and maybe lost a game along the way, but it would have to have been a good one.
All right, let's do UCF here, USF, excuse me, and their win against thumped Boise State. But I'm going to tease you. We're going to have Mike Scarborough on LSU Clemson in a minute. Here are two $100 gift cards to Visa gift cards. We did not get everything set up yet on our college football pick'em, but Kim Coulter, always so just unbelievable about how giving he is. So here's what I'm going to do. You have to pay attention. This is going to be quick after Mike Scarborough. For you to win a college football pick'em contest in the chat, and I'll also put this up on Twitter, you're going to email me. I'll take if it's 12 or 130, and I will grade it. And we will have a winner. We'll do this kind of off the cuff, so be paying attention inside the chat room for how you could win the opening week 10 games that you're going to pick, and we'll tell you how and what the tiebreakers are. How about Alex Golesh? And then here he is. In fact, Alex Golesh, after USF hammered the Broncos.
Don't take anything for granted. I'm gonna quote one of the greatest human beings I've ever been around. One of the greatest coaches I've been around. One of the greatest men I've ever been around. We were only around him for about a year and a half. But Coach Amir said, "This ain't the same old South Florida."
Hell yeah!
All right, there we are. Heck of a win. When I got home and started to kind of just watch Nebraska, Cincinnati, and look at the rest of the scores, I was like, oh my God, what a nice win for USF. Boise State led that game 7-0, and then they had their doors blown off.
Yeah, Byron Brown was sensational for USF, especially running the football, and that was just an ass whooping that I didn't see coming. I don't think many people saw that coming. I mean, even the loss of Ashton Genty, like as notable as that is to have a guy who finished runner-up to the Heisman Trophy and in a lot of people's opinions should have maybe been the winner. Okay, you get there's going to be a little bit of a drop-off, but I didn't expect like that for Boise State in their first game without Ashton Genty. I mean, that was incredibly surprising, but all credit in the world to USF. I mean, all credit in the world to Alex Golish and his team, and he's been on this show a couple times and part of trying to like promote the program, and we've enjoyed our conversations with him, and I think you probably saw this in some people's minds last night. I know it's certainly in mine, but we specifically have talked about some various coaches out there like a Hugh Freeze potentially, or a Sam Pittman, or somebody like that, guys that are on quote-unquote hot seats that need to win a certain amount of games or perform a certain way this year to keep their time going. But I do feel like we've kind of entered this phase where there's not a bunch of super obvious replacements coming up the ranks necessarily. There's not just like, oh, like that Tom Herman guy at Houston, like that, that kind of a deal. I think Alex Golish, though, is that guy down in South Florida. I think he's going to be that guy when people start looking around for the next head coach. They go like, man, you see what Alex Golish is doing down at Tampa? That, in my opinion, is what we're going to see, especially if they keep up what they put out there last night. So, yeah, Byron Brown was a lot of fun to watch. I think there's a bunch of games to be played tomorrow, tonight, Sunday, Monday, obviously. But if you're doing like the first week in the day Heisman Trophy list, Byron Brown's on that Heisman Trophy list. Jalen Daniels is on that Heisman Trophy list. We'll see where they'll be after this weekend. But, yeah, that's the situation to watch down in at USF for sure. They looked good. And to see Boise get crushed like that is something we don't ever see.
Yeah, that was the part. I was like, what? They lost? Okay, USF, I love what Golish got. And then you look at the score, and I had to start digging, and it was one-sided, a huge win for the Bulls.
I think it's more about USF than it is about Boise, too. It doesn't need to be about, oh, Boise fell off and this and that. I think it's more about like, damn, USF looks really good.
Alex Golish is in the next level. Like he's coming. Like he's figuring it out. Like USF is not an easy place to just win at. Like you're in a great high school football spot in Tampa, but everybody else knows that. So you're having to fight off just getting enough guys out of your own hometown. They can do well in the transfer portal. They did great to keep Byron Brown. Like, think about USF. I'm sorry for both of you. USF keeping Byron Brown in this era of tampering and transfer portal stuff when so many people will be like, yeah, we want that guy. I can think of, part of me thinks that if you asked me at Miami, if Mario Cristobal put me on his staff as the official, tell me which quarterback you want out of the portal, and you asked me Carson Beck or Byron Brown, I might pick Byron Brown because he's got more to prove to me, and he's more athletic and can maybe, recreate a little bit of the Cam Ward stuff as opposed to Carson Beck, who I've just never felt he feels like he has anything to prove, which can be good and bad. But
USF fans are going to find you and string you up for suggesting Byron Brown in the portal to begin with.
No, but I mean,
I know what you mean. And he's a very much a USF guy. But no, I know what you're saying. Yeah, he looked good. Now it wasn't like perfect, but it was dominant. They put it on Boise and. Yeah, I mean, they think that they just really shocked me personally. I expected Boise to drop off somewhat, and they were very reliant on Genty last year, no question about it. But, I mean, my gosh, they don't get smacked around like that very often. First top 25 win, what was that I saw earlier from USF? Like their first top 25 win in a very long time. Let me try to get that to close out my thoughts here. Since 2016. So first time you've done that in nearly 10 years. There's the Alex Golish magic working. He's doing a great job with that program.
I love him, man. I Georgia Tech's coach, Alex Golish. Who else am I thinking? Maybe the Vanderbilt coach, huh? Yeah. I just kind of like their style. We have hit most everything. There is one note here. Not sure if you saw this or not. Ross Dellinger had this earlier today. As you will see this commercial with Texas Tech donor, alum, former football player Cody Campbell this weekend.
It's football season, and no matter who you cheer for, we all agree how much college sports mean to us. But it's at risk. Dramatic changes are causing nearly every athletic department in America to operate in the red, forcing cuts, putting women's sports and Olympic dreams in immediate danger. The solution? Congress must modernize the Sports Broadcasting Act. That single change will generate the funding needed to protect all sports at all schools. Let's save college sports before the clock runs out.
That's okay. There we are with Cody Campbell. Ross Dellinger had it. He also mentioned that it will air across ESPN and Fox during the college football weekend this weekend, encouraging Congress to amend the Sports Broadcasting Act to allow conferences to consolidate media rights deals. I don't think it'll ever get to that, but I also never thought players would get money whenever they wanted it, or based even on their value.
Doesn't mean that they're gonna.
No.
I mean, it means that it would be legal for
that
them
was the
to
most
do
southern you've ever sounded. Doesn't mean that you're gonna.
Paul, you being well, from Memphis, right? Yeah.
I mean, I can go, but
that's the South Florida guy. That's definitely the South. I haven't heard you quite that gonna. I haven't heard that.
Fort Myers is the South, and that they have a lot of crap named after Robert E. Lee, but it's not the South, and that most of the people you hear are like, I would like a tuna sandwich.
Yeah, like Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so that's a very interesting tactic on his part, and there's going to be a lot of politics involved in this conversation.
Yeah.
The interesting part about it is that he's not just some Joe Blow who's spent all his money on the commercial that's airing now, and he doesn't really have a lot to go back to in the pot of cash. He can go blow for blow, even with a big entity. So I'm very intrigued by sort of how people respond to that. I know there's a lot of people that side-eye him, and I do to an extent. I appreciate that he sat down with us in media days. I understand what he's trying to do. I do think there are some selfish motivations, obviously, which is fine because that's what everybody's pretty much operating on for the most part. And the unsaid part, or the obvious part that doesn't need to be said, is that part of him wanting to save college sports is that his alma mater has a place in college sports, especially when it's a college sports where he can write, along with his other fellow tycoon buddies, millions of dollars in checks for his alma mater to have the number one transfer class and all of those things. But would it also be beneficial to have everybody else protected to some degree as well? I do think that he has the best interest in college football in mind. I do think there is a selfishness to it, but again, that's human. So I don't know how well that will go over for a Greg Sankey seeing that commercial or someone in that kind of stratosphere. But I love that there's somebody that's actually doing something like this and not just letting them dictate every single move from here on out without anybody else having a say as to how this goes.
We'll have Mike Scarborough. Yes, you know what? Good for Cody Campbell. He's going to do this and this and tech, and he's trying to do what's right in his opinion. A lot of people feel that way about the overall entirety of college athletics, not just whether the Red Raiders win an extra 3 to 5 games this year.
Yeah.
All right, now I put the pick'em games.
I was just about to stop you on that.
I did.
I can save you a lot of trouble.
Please.
Why don't you tell people not to ignore that, and I'll put a link to a pool that I just made.
All right, so here's the deal. First of all, I said do not put your picks in the chat room, and Kyle Visser then list his picks in the chat room.
Yeah. So
Paxton sent me the pick between Notre Dame and Miami, but nothing else.
Okay.
So all bets are off. The chat room, listen to this no matter what.
Yeah.
Paul's going to put up a link in the chat room. That's how you make your picks. Saves me some pain. Thank you, Paul.
Yes. And you got to make them by tomorrow.
By what time?
By 10:50.
Did you see the picks I put up? The games?
No,
Oh my God, they're different games.
No. Don't worry about those. Don't worry about those. Just follow this link. You click on it. There's no password on this link. So just click on that link right there, and then you're in. And then you can join as the season goes on. And since it's week by week, we only have one winner a week. It doesn't matter. So if you miss this week, it's not a big deal. If you go next week and then, yeah. So we'll just do week by week, and we won't do an overall season prize since we're kind of reading and reacting here. So we'll go week by week.
We have some of you. Okay. All right. When we come back, Mike Scarborough, Paul, put up the link. It's right down at the bottom recently on the chat room. And that's the only way these picks count. If you've emailed me, you got to go to the chat room. You have until whatever it says on that link. And the winner, thanks to Kim Coulter, will get a $100 gift card from Visa. And we'll do this moving forward and give you more of a heads up starting next week. This is 365 Sports. And it's a night of high school football throughout the state of Texas, but also just around the corner, a mile and a half from here, inside McLean Stadium, Auburn and Baylor on Fox Sports. And inside McLean Stadium, the Baylor Club. They're in fact, right now, the Knox Hall tailgate going on. It just kicked off at about 4 for the next 3 hours. ESPN Live will be broadcasting from there. They'll have a Swing Waco, Kids Zone, sailgating, bouncy house, and it's not the one at UCF. Valley Mills Vineyard, Lucas Sousa. All of that will be a part of what Nick Colwell and the Baylor Club has put together. A great game day atmosphere, and during the week, it's a fantastic place to get fantastic food from top chefs from, whatever you want, whether it's seafood or if it's steak or something even better than that. If that's what you think, they have that available. A great membership to be a part of. And it's called the Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco.
Big savings are waiting at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive off in a 2025 Jeep Wrangler Sport for just $29,990, or grab a new Jeep Compass Latitude for only $26,700. The road and trails are calling. And wrap up your summer in style with the Make This the Summer event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions, IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
We have bangers, and then there are a couple of mega bangers tomorrow with Clemson and LSU. And then, of course, Texas and Ohio State, and that game up in Columbus at 11 o'clock. Mike Scarborough, Tiger Bait, joins us on 365 Sports. And, Mike, I look forward to this. There's a lot of focus and attention with what's going on with game day and Big Noon and all that. But, man, I cannot wait tomorrow night in the evening to wrap it up by watching these two teams. That ought to be a hell of a game.
I think it's going to be it's obviously both teams have a lot at stake, particularly with LSU's opening game losing streak. They don't want that to go any further. But it's one of those games that's vitally important where both teams, it's playoffs or nothing, and you lose and you're really behind the eight ball to try and meet expectations. And in LSU's case, the schedule is not very conducive. But the fact is, this is absolutely Brian Kelly's best roster from top to bottom. But look, the LSU athletic department and the football coaches, they all like these marquee games. They continue to schedule them. I will say this, I've heard a lot of national guys give LSU kudos and plaudits for continue to schedule these type of games to open the season. I guess in LSU's case, in Brian Kelly's case, if they indeed lose, which they're an underdog, just at Clemson, that when they're if LSU ends up being a 9-3 football team, that they're remembering them scheduling these type of games when they're trying to figure out who gets into the playoffs or not.
Mike, Brian Kelly, like you said, he's got this roster. He's got a defensive coordinator, Blaine Baker's second year. He's got the coaching staff he seems that he wants. What is standing in the way of LSU becoming the LSU that they can be?
I think it's just I think most people look, there's a lot of LSU media that are picking LSU to go 10-2. But they're picking them to lose tomorrow night. I think most people have gotten to the point where they're show me. I'm not picking you to win an opener until you do it. But that's a pretty tall order. A lot of people say, oh, well, Brian Kelly's record against top 5 teams on the road. Well, seriously, who's supposed to beat top 5 teams on the road? Right?
Right.
That's a rare occurrence. So I'm not making excuses for him. And certainly when we get the news yesterday that, the prize safety, A.J. Halsey, is going to have to miss the first half, it's a little bit more of here we go again, And so, I've been saying all summer long, Kelly's got he does it often where he'll win the toss and take the ball. I think now for sure he takes the ball because he wants to keep Clemson's offense off the field until he gets his back in the way he wants it for the second half.
Mike, are you going to the game?
No, we've got staff there.
Okay.
We got a post-game show in the studio. We're going live right after.
Gotcha. Okay. I was going to ask if you had ever been to the Clemson version of Death Valley and just how much that's been trumpeted up and as part of the tagline for this game. So that's why I asked that question. But that's obviously a big piece of this, and I guess it'll be curious to see kind of what that talk's like on the other side of this one.
Well, they're going to get their opportunity to see, LSU next year because LSU opens up with Clemson and Baton Rouge. So, but yeah, you guys look at those lists a lot more than I do. Does anybody ever have Clemson in their top 10 of college venues?
I don't know if they haven't.
I don't know if
It's definitely not to the top of the list. I'll put it that way.
Look, Mike, I'm not the right person to ask here because I, hate them. I've been there, and it's been 24 years ago, and I had a good time, but mostly because of what I imbibed.
Exactly. Well, and look, but I will say this: Clemson is built like an SEC team. The proof is in the pudding. And what they've done since Dabo's been head coach. Certainly LSU got him in 2019, and this is a revenge game for that, even though it's years later. But look, it really is a must-have game, but then it isn't. I think for LSU, if they fall tomorrow night, you just can't have a pity party, have Louisiana Tech, and then have Billy Napier come to town, and then have and not take care of business and have two losses before you even get to mid-September.
Mike, I was listening to a station in Dallas this morning. Nussmeier's brother plays at where he played in high school football, and is it true that his brother might be as good or better, who comes out, I think, in a couple of years?
A lot of people think that. Now, he's a lefty.
Yep.
And he's already 2 or 3 inches taller than Garrett. I've been watching him at LSU camps for years. And, you've got Elijah Haven right there in Baton Rouge at Dunham. In fact, we filmed him last night. But he might end up being a Florida Gator, the Baton Rouge highly touted 5-star quarterback. And it could be Garrett Colton Nussmeier that ends up being LSU's quarterback for the class of 27.
Mike, Cade Klubnik is in his third year with this system with Garrett Riley. He's very rascally on the outside when you get it. Whitweeks, Harold Perkins, how confident are they in those guys to be able to kind of disrupt Cade Klubnik a little bit when he starts getting out of the well?
Yeah, I can't wait to see what Blake Baker dials up. LSU now has got dudes in the front, in the back, great linebackers. I think Harold Perkins is about to have the type of year that he wants to have, that we all thought he would have. You've got the DBs, you got the corners, Delane. How they bring the pressure. This is the best defensive front since Brian Kelly's been here. I think it's the best defensive front since the 19 team. They can bring pressure off the edge. Bernard Gooden, number 88, the transfer in from South Florida, has been unblockable in August camp. And so LSU's defense, I think, is going to look entirely different from last year, both on the front end and the back end. What Blake Baker did with a skeleton crew last year, to me, was remarkable. And that as bad as that defense was, I think it could have been a lot worse. So I don't know what to expect tomorrow night. I tend to think I want to take the over. I felt that way all week. The over under is 57.5. I think still. Part of me thinks it's going to go over that.
Hey, 2 great quarterbacks, some skill guys that are super explosive. I can see that. I can see that. It's week 1, Mike. Nobody knows what the hell's going on right now.
Well,
if they're being honest.
And look, you guys saw it in the bowl game with Chris Hilton.
Mm-hmm.
That was a factor that LSU did not have all last season. He didn't really get right until last regular season game and against Baylor in the bowl game. They didn't have a deep threat. They didn't have a receiver that could get down and stretch the field that could run a 4.6 or lower than a 4.6. And so now you got all that. You got Nick Anderson that came in from Oklahoma, Barry and Brown from Kentucky. Hilton's healthy. I think Hilton's on it. If he picks up where he left off, he's going to be another in a long line of first-round draft pick LSU wide receivers. And now you had Bauer Sharp from Oklahoma at tight end to go with Tradez Green. and that's a weapon. So, but what have we been talking about all off season? It's the offensive line.
Yes.
And, can they give them time? Can they fend off Clemson's pressure up front? And we're about to find out. I think that's probably, there's been some embarrassing things in BK's era at LSU, and probably the one that he's most embarrassed about is LSU's inability to run the football.
Yeah, I love this game. You mentioned as long as you don't get thumped 30-3, and even if you do, you have enough down the road with your schedule to be able to bounce back by beating quality people. But I sure love these opening weekend games like this, don't you?
Yeah, Yeah. I mean, say LSU. Look, and I'm not setting the table to make excuses for LSU. But if they lose 31-27 or 27-24, how is the playoff committee supposed to look at that? I mean, you're going on the road at Clemson, a top 5 football team.
Agreed. It's a major challenge, and it's much better than being like 1-0 and you played nobody with a pulse, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, look, a lot of people are raising a fuss that LSU should be playing Tulane every year. Well, if I was drawing up the schedule, I would prefer to have Tulane to open it. But they like these games. Now, this is a home and home. But before that, these neutral sites game, LSU's getting $8.5, $10, $12 million from ESPN for those games. You can see why they're not turning that money down. Not to mention all the free marketing that you get from that.
We were just talking about that with Cincinnati and their decision to play at Arrowhead against Nebraska, giving up a home game. But it's like, hey, you had the home field advantage, but on the other side, you had like the Kelce's and Taylor Swift and the exposure and the money and all you got with that. So it's understandable, but I guess it depends on the result, how you kind of feel about it afterwards. I did want to ask you, since we're talking a little bit about schedule, as somebody who covers the SEC, what'd you think about the move to go to 9 conference games?
Well, it ties into this year from an LSU perspective, because you got the home and home with Clemson. You open with them next year. You look at this current roster that we're bragging about, and you're losing so much. I don't believe the quarterback that starts LSU for 26 is on the roster. They're going to have to go in the portal and get a big-time quarterback in the offseason. And so they're losing so much of all these guys. And your linebackers, your corners, your multiple wide receivers, you're losing so much. And so you're going to open with Clemson. Now you go to a 9-game SEC schedule in such a year and book it. It'll be LSU's luck that in the first year of that, they'll get 5 road games versus 4 home games. That's just, you can book that. That'll probably fall that way. Or watch them get Texas and Georgia rotating in at the same time.
Mike, if you look at the SEC and who they are, and we know there's this clump at the top, and LSU's a part of that, no matter, even, right there, a game or two, we'll see. But the Georgia and Texas and Alabama, among others, who you hear about South Carolina, they've risen. Florida showed spunk with the end of the year with Lagway. Who that is not a part of the upper tier or the middle to upper tier in the SEC would you say is a dark horse? Is there one?
Part of me thinks A&M could be that. I wonder about A&M. I think they're well coached. What's Reed going to look like in this year with more experience? I haven't really dissected them week by week, their schedule, but I wonder if Texas A&M could be that next man up that breaks through. It's difficult. It's just razor thin. I have LSU going 9-3, losing to Clemson, and somewhere in between, whether it's a slip up at Ole Miss or in Tuscaloosa, and then, if it's you in the season in Norman, okay, after the way LSU laid the wood to them in Baton Rouge, we saw the way they played at home last year. I think they're going to be a very improved team, and they play well at home. That could be the deciding factor whether LSU's in the playoffs or not. And certainly it's not a good look if you get beat Norman the last regular season weekend and you're trying to, you got the people in that room deciding who gets in and who don't.
Hey, man, have a great weekend. Enjoy tomorrow night and just college football where we are. It's great that we have evidence to talk about after last weekend with a handful of games and, of course, even last night. And now we go into the weekend.
I'm so glad it's here. And it's, of course, at LSU, it's the gap in between sometimes can be depressing. But when the baseball team wins it all, the link between seasons is a lot shorter.
Yeah, no question. No doubt about it. Thanks, Mike. Mike Scarborough, Tiger Bait with us. Garrett, did you get your fix of Go Tigers?
A little bit, yeah.
Did you ask a question during that segment?
I didn't need to. Oh, I can hit my phone.
He doesn't need answers.
I think we covered most of it, too.
Yeah,
I don't think we really left much on the bone. Maybe some, super more detailed kind of things if you're a message board regular where you kind of get into the minutia of everything. Like, how's the third string tight end, kind of, that kind of jazz. But I think we kind of hit the major points there with LSU. Yeah, that offensive line is going to be what's really the key. I don't ever worry about them having skill guys. I know, the running game's been kind of hit or miss maybe recently, but is LSU going to have wide receivers? Yeah. Do they have one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the country? Yeah. So I think they'll find a running game. And what, Gary, it's offensive line, right?
Yeah, it's really comes down to your offensive line. I think you feel good about your receivers and the secondary. I need to see more from the secondary. That's what concerns me, the offensive line and the secondary holding up.
I'm glad you said that. Damn it, I should have said this during the Cincinnati segment. So I got to make better notes.
No, really, let's talk about Cincinnati.
I want to talk about the point that I was going to make earlier that I didn't get to because I started talking about all the other stuff, like the wide receivers need to play tougher, which is true. But the biggest concern for them going to that game was the secondary. Mm-hmm. And it was the biggest concern in that game is the secondary because Dylan Raiola did have success against them. It was very hit or miss. So I think that was something you were eyeing if you were a Bearcats fan was how the secondary would hold up. And I definitely think that exposed itself as one of your big issues that you're going to be facing moving forward. So that was just another random thing from last night because that was, I think, their biggest question overall, and it did hurt them in that game against Raiola and company. So we'll continue to keep eyes on that one. But, yeah, LSU Clemson's a hell of a game, and I cannot wait. There are, to your point, bangers. And actually, I think that's going to be what we title the new pick segment every week is Bangers of the Week.
Yeah.
We'll clean that up from this past week when we were kind of I think this first week we're all getting our kinks out and we're getting our dust, I guess wiped off
dusting the furniture.
Yeah, I'm losing the ability to speak English here, but we're getting some of the rust off. The rust, that's the word I was looking for, not dust. Getting the rust off, knocking that. And so we'll see. Not everybody's going to look super sharp in week number 1, but I'll be damned if there's not a bunch of matchups that are just a lot of fun to talk about, and I can't wait to see more of these next couple of days.
I have nothing to cover. I'm not going to play golf tomorrow morning with the games kicking off at 11. And, of course, the Corso thing. I even actually just said, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to get some of that queso dip going with some Owen spicy sausage and some hamburger and have that early and then just kind of enjoy along the way. By the way.
Well, Nebraska can't ruin your Saturday.
No, well, they can't. No, I'm telling you, I'm thrilled, but I'm not excited. Is that possible? So I got to tell you, this is a big day for us. Paul Catalina has now committed to being back in the chat room.
No, I'm already out. I'm already out.
He's afraid to defend his Olive Garden takes.
I saw
in the
you
chat room.
post 35 different times.
Yeah,
it was so refreshing. You're such a sweet person coming back in the chat room.
No, that was more, hey, you blockheads, here's the password kind of a thing.
Audiences love
you. You have no idea how many people are still emailing me with their picks.
Yeah. Again, I wanted to make it in fact.
Remember when Taylor Swift called her fans blockheads at her last concert?
Yeah.
All right. Look, here's the thing. I'll say this. Only the people in the chat are blockheads. Everybody else is great. No, I tease. But
Air Force Blue 82, Nebraska can't ruin your Saturday. Such shade, Craig. He's right, though.
You caught it. You caught that.
Here's also what we do need to tell you. When you do get registered into that link, and we gave you the password 45 times, make sure you leave your bank account information and also credit card, right?
And Social Security number.
And also, and even if you want to, your driver's license and birth certificate. and we'll have a lot of fun with that. The winner, God knows how many have been registered, will get a $100 gift card thanks to Kim Coulter from Visa. Guess who just sent me a text with WDE? War Damn Eagle. Eric Horton.
I'm not surprised.
Eric's a huge Auburn fan.
I'm very surprised that he is not here with you.
He's just it's hard for him to travel right now. War Damn Eagle from the biggest Auburn fan that I know in Eric Horton.
I'm glad you described, because I don't think anybody out there other than people in here know who Eric Horton is. But you speak about him so confidently, like he's like the fourth wheel on the show. But he's a longtime friend, and he is a great guy and a big Auburn guy. And so would love if he was here. But yeah, that's who you're referring to. And unfortunate that he's not, because there's a pretty good crowd here already, as best I could tell, and just be cool to have him around, because I don't anticipate Auburn ever coming back to McLean Stadium. And this is probably a once in a kind of lifetime thing. We'll see. I mean, maybe they have a great time and they decide they're going to, come back in 10 years or something like that. But we know that the 9 games for the SEC now, that's going to crunch things a little bit. So how does that work, and who all gets opportunities to play teams like that again? And so I hope they make the most of it tonight. And I know that the whole town's trying to make the most of it.
Rod Babers, former Texas defensive back, who's a part of On Texas Football, will join us here in just a moment about the game up in Columbus.
Yeah. You know what would be great right now if we could take a pee break.
Really?
Yeah, it would be
All
awesome.
right, well, you're going to have to get there first, because I'm right after you. I also want – there was and some of you, this has been fun. Go ahead and go. Go ahead,
Thank
go, Paul.
Jesus.
You guys, you go ahead and you go ahead and go. We're taking a break. Garrett Ross running the mothership. We're not done. Rod Babers on Texas, Ohio State next on 365 Sports.
Allen Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget, from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Allen Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560, or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
Welcome back. 365 Sports, Paul Catalina, David Smoak, and Craig Smoak, and Rod Babers.
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
Will join us in a second.
Yeah, thank you.
Craig was bringing this up. We've looked at last night. We've looked at tonight. We've also slightly looked ahead to the weekend with some games. But we're not done. We're not done.
No, I mean, there's a bunch of games that are out there this weekend. I mean, it'll consolidate itself when conference play starts, and there will be hits and little bits of that over the next couple of weeks. We got that in Ireland with Iowa State and Kansas State, but obviously you're going to have to wait a good 3 weeks or so before everybody's pretty much just chock full of conference games, save for that SEC special at the end of the year for some teams. But, I mean, later on tonight, Kansas back in action. Looked really impressive in week number 1 playing Wagner. It's such a spread that I'm surprised it's even still on the board. They're damn near 50-point favorites. It's 45.5-point spread.
When do they eventually just take that off the board? Is there a number?
I'm not a gambler in any way, shape, or form, and it's not because of anything other than it just doesn't really interest me. Like, it's not like something I get my rocks off on, so it's just not for me. So I'm not really well versed in the particulars of something like that. But I would have to say it's got to be pretty damn close to 45.5 points because, I mean, at that point, like, what is the point? But Kansas should roll huge tonight. They'll be 2-0 and just looking like a buzzsaw based on the first 2 games, albeit not the greatest competition in the world, but a team certainly that you keep your eye out for in the Big 12 as a contender. If Jalen Daniels looks like he showed glimpses of looking in week number 1, and which was like Jalen Daniels of a couple years ago. So yeah, that'll be the key for them. But their defense looks really salty, and I'm excited about KU. But tonight, you're not going to, I don't think, see much more than a bludgeoning.
By the way, AI, they're always right? I mean,
no.
While no specific point spread guarantees a game will be taken off the board, sportsbooks suspend wagering when there's significant uncertainty that creates too much risk.
Well, I don't think there's any of that going on here. It's just that Kansas is such a huge favorite. But so you got Kansas tonight against Wagner, Baylor, Auburn, obviously, and Colorado, Georgia Tech in Boulder. And Dion with his new look quarterback room and certainly a cast of characters that you feel great about on a Colorado point of view. The offensive line, the defense. I think the running game still what people are really confused about what we might see because we saw so little of that the last couple of years. But with Caden Salter back there, you're going to have way more of a quarterback run game than you had under Shedeur. So how does that trickle to the rest of the backs? And Colorado's going to have a running game because if they don't, guys, then something's going really wrong because Caden Salter is a runner. I'm very excited to see him. And I think Colorado could be sneaky good because so many are just writing off, they lost Shedeur and Travis. So that's the end of their road. They also lost some really good wide receivers and some other players as well. But I think Dion's going to have talent. I've been saying this the last couple of days. I picked Georgia Tech in this game because they're kind of a flavor of the year. Haynes King's healthy, and I'm super excited to see what he looks like actually able to lift his shoulder on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So I love this game. I'm very excited about this one.
I wonder, though, with Haynes King, he's a tough kid, but with the story about his father fighting cancer. And I was told, by the way, Garrett, Paul, and Craig, that John King, I know he's at high school in Longview, will be on the sideline tonight for the Lobos. Earlier today, it was announced earlier this week. In fact, John King contacted a few members of the media saying that he has mouth cancer, mouth and tongue cancer, and they were going to have to do some immediate surgery, but immediate, I don't know how that's it. So they haven't done that. And I had somebody, that's Matthew Prosser from Longview ISD, telling me that I can say it now, that he was down in the bowels of Lobo football fieldhouse working out on the treadmill and was asked whether or not he was going to be able to be on the sideline. He goes, "You're right, I will be." So God bless John King. We're all praying about him. And you wonder, is there any kind of, other than, no, I'm going to go out and play my ass off for my dad, which you would always do with Haynes King, if there's any kind of maybe distraction. So there we are. But good news, he will be on the sideline. Rod Babers, good news. He joins us on 365 Sports. There he is, that beautiful smile. And with us on 365 Sports. Hey, Rod, I mean, what a game. What a great way to start, just in the perspective of Texas. And how ironic that was the last game UT played and how it ended. And here we are. What is it, 9 months or a little bit less than 9 months later?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and now we were talking about potentially the most anticipated, talked about season opener in week one of college football season in the modern history of the game, potentially, right? You got the Arch Mania thing that's happening right now. You also have, now the line, I think, is kind of flipped, and even some books, Texas, he's been even now favored by 1 point over Ohio State. So there's a lot of money being wagered on the game. Folks are really excited about it. And I think ultimately, I don't know if we're going to have this much talent, NFL caliber talent on the field at one time in any matchup all this season. I don't know if you'll have more than you'll see on display Saturday night.
Yeah, it seems like a really solid bet, Rod. These teams have only played 4 times. It feels like it's more than that, though. I think because the games have been so memorable for one reason or another. They had that string of like 3 years in a row, or 3 out of 4 years, I should say, playing each other with big implications. And then last year, obviously, huge implications. It's not a rivalry, but does it feel like they could sort of be rivals, especially in this new era of just super leagues and super powers and all that comes with that?
I think you're right on the money there. I don't know if because obviously you can't put them in the same boat as your traditional rivals, your A&Ms, your Oklahomas, your Arkansas, but I feel like they become like these rivalries that kind of spring up out of nowhere, like a spring romance or something like that. And I feel like Texas has one with Georgia right now. Well, Texas got to win one to make it a true rivalry, but I feel like over the next year or so, that if Texas wants to make it to the mountaintop, they want to snatch it away from Georgia. They want to be the top dog in college football, and you got to go to Georgia this year to do that. So I feel like if Texas can hold their own there a little bit, that could be one of those budding rivalries you're talking about, and certainly with Ohio State. I think that comes with the territory, right? If you're playing, elite caliber football, and Texas is not shying away from those big non-conference games, and I'm happy about it. Even with the new 9-game slate in the SEC, Texas said, nope, they're going to still embrace these big-time non-conference matchups because the fans love it, and it's just great for college football overall. So I think this could be, for Texas fans, this could be something new where, you're not used to having these blue blood kind of rivalries that pop up for you, but they can be really fun. And they ultimately could tell the tale of whether Texas is going to be able to take the next step to the elite caliber status they want to get to.
Where do you find the biggest specific advantage for the Longhorns tomorrow?
Yeah, specific advantage. That's interesting because I think the continuity that they have, right? You're talking about Texas being the only program in the country for five straight years. They're bringing back the head coach, the OC, the DC, the strength and conditioning coach, special teams coordinator, and yet you got Ohio State who just won it all. So congrats to them. That's a damn good football team. But you got a new offensive coordinator in Brian Hartline. You got a new defensive coordinator in Matt Patricia. And I think if it calls for Texas to have to get into some complex, exotic kind of schemes and get deep into their bag of tricks, if you will, into their playbook. Arch Manning has been in that Sark offense, immersed in it for 2 years now. He knows Sark. Sark knows him really well. I think that'll help them in the quarterback matchup because I think they'll be able to get into a lot deeper and a lot of complex schemes that Sark can get into to cause problems for the opposing defense. And on the defensive side of things, Julian Sain making his first start, right? I think the stat is that in the last 20 years, quarterbacks making their first start versus the number one team, or 0-18, I believe is a number that's been thrown out there. Texas defensively with elite All-American caliber players at every level of defense, Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill, Michael Taft, Malik Muhammad, they can get real exotic. They can throw a lot of complex looks and get deep into their bag of tricks when it comes to the pre-snap disguise against Julian Sand and really try to confuse him and cause ID issues. Although Matt Patricia, known for having a multiple defense at the NFL level, he's only had so much time with these really elite pieces for Ohio State, but he's only had so much time to teach them the scheme that he's trying to hybridize his core concepts, the concepts from Jim Knowles from last season. So I think Texas has a clear advantage there, and it may come down to that in the fourth quarter.
What is, do you think, Rod, more difficult for an NFL coach, style coach, and Belichick's a part of this, but an NFL style or veteran coach to come coach the college game, or for a college coach to become an assistant coach in the NFL game?
Oh, that's good. That's good. Which one's more difficult? I'm going to say the difficult one is going to the NFL level, that transition. But so few coaches have been able to win consistently at both levels, right? Have proven to be a great NFL coach and a great college football coach, right? Jim Harbaugh recently has shown that he's one of those guys. Pete Carroll, one of those guys. Even Nick Saban couldn't really prove to be great at both levels. I think, honestly, and Longhorn fans don't like to hear this, I think if Sark wins a national title at Texas and maybe wins 2 national titles at Texas and accomplishes what he believes he is capable of, I think he wants to give the NFL a try and to see if he can do what Nick Saban couldn't, one of his mentors, and Pete Carroll did as one of those great ball coaches, right, who can coach college or can coach pro. It doesn't matter. But that's interesting because I think that's the Matt Patricia right now, the storyline, him coming from the NFL, the NFL, there's no doubt about it. They week to week, they're matchup based defenses, right? You got to figure it out and adjust on the fly week to week. So the battle of adjustments that's going to take place in that game, he actually may have a little bit of an advantage over Sark. Sark is amazing when it comes to game plan and preparation. His opening script, whether it be 20 or 40 plays, is one of the best in college football. But where he struggled last year, Texas, one of the worst third quarter teams in all of college football, is the battle of adjustments. Once the script is done, you have to match wits with the opposing play caller. And this game may be a battle of adjustments for most of the game, concerning Sark has no idea how a Matt Patricia coach defense is going to look. And even he admitted to Mac Brown when he spoke to Mac Brown on the Stampede podcast, he may have to throw out his game plan in the first quarter and may have to go on the fly and improvise on the fly. It'd be interesting to see if Sark can win that battle of adjustments with Matt Patricia. I think he can, as long as he's the aggressor.
Rod, we got a little bit of a taste of Arch Manning last year when yours was banged up, but how are you approaching just the conversations, the expectations, all that comes with this supernova of a I don't want to say personality, but a character and a player, kind of expectations, I guess. How are you managing that in your own head and the Longhorn fan base as well?
Yeah, it's definitely the most anticipated. And it's not a debut because he's got 2 starts under his belt, but for a first time season starting quarterback for him, first time in season starting quarterback, I think it's got to be the most anticipated debut that we've ever had in modern college football. The expectations are unprecedented. I mean, to be a Heisman front runner, to be, by most people's prognostications, the number 1 overall draft pick whenever he does decide that he wants to go to the NFL. And a lot of people, I believe, they're the betting favorite, if not the second betting favorite overall to win the national title. We've never seen anything like it. But a Manning has never disappointed. Right? Peyton didn't disappoint. Eli didn't disappoint. Neither did Archie. So the belief is that he's going to come through. He handles it in an amazingly mature way, guys. I mean, he just doesn't seem rattled and it doesn't get to him. The guy doesn't even really like social media. So he's very down to earth and very humble. So I think Longhorn fans are really lucky that he has such a, kind of down to earth a feel to him as a player, and that humility. It's authentic, in my opinion. I think he's the real deal, though. I do. And I think Sark hasn't had a quarterback like this. Quinn was a great quarterback, but this guy has everything that Quinn had. Plus, he's got, the athleticism and the mobility in the legs, and he's got the deep ball. Arch loves the deep ball. You're going to see a lot of that. So I think Sark is going to unleash Arch on Ohio State. I mean, go look at, if you had to rank Quinn Ewers' best games at Texas, say you had to just throw out a top 5, honestly, most people would have the Bama game from 23 in there, the Michigan game from 24 in there, and you might even throw that first quarter, that Bama game in 22 in there. His best games have come, and he's been well prepared by Sark over months, all right, in preparation for these huge, big non-conference games. I don't think Arch is going to be any different, guys, with 2 years to immerse himself in this offense. I think you're going to get one of Arch's best games this season versus Ohio State. I think you're going to get one of Sark's best opening scripts that we've seen from him as the head coach at Texas.
Yeah, his play calling is truly phenomenal and maybe the best in the college game.
Well, and of course, Rod Arch Manning is the Cowboys' next quarterback, if I'm to believe. Everybody is going to package all 4 of those picks, and they're going to get Arch no matter what.
Jerry Jones would have a Well, he would be excited.
Who no? Like,
I'm just kidding. Yeah,
but
I've heard that.
I wanted to see like one Texas guy's reaction to that. And look, here's the weird thing about that the Cowboys and Texas players, they haven't really had many over the years. It's just never really been. I mean, they got DeMarion Overshown right now, and he was like the first in like 17, 18 years. So.
Hey, he's got 2 first-round picks to start that arch package, all right? So accumulate more and more picks. So you can give up that too. Give up everything if you get home. I think Jerry would do that, honestly. I think, and it might be one of the best decisions that he's made since he's been GM because he's been screwing it up a little bit lately.
You got Jaden Blue, now at Texas, he's part of it, and Overshown. Overshown, I don't know, was it Overshown or CD Ladden had a picture of Mike
Overshown.
He had a picture. What was the picture? Like
it was that gif of like the monkey on life support.
Yeah. It was something else. So okay, as a guy who's a defensive player, I heard this earlier today. The best defensive players in the NFL, how many of them have actually won a Super Bowl? Best. Now, Micah Parsons may not be the best defensive player in the NFL, but you had Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White.
Deion Sanders at one point. Deion was the best.
He won it with 2 different teams. He was the difference between 94 and 94, 95.
Aaron Donald was the best, and Aaron Donald did.
Yep, he did. But you always hear about all the value is your offensive side of the ball, the quarterback or whatever else. But, man, that was something else. Now, what do you think of that trade just as a football guy?
Green Bay, I just think Green Bay is such a quality organization. Why does Green Bay keep doing this? When it comes to quarterback, nobody can figure out quarterback, right? But Green Bay has been able to get, back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks. I don't know if, I don't know if Jordan Love's going to be Hall of Famer, but he's definitely a franchise quarterback, right? No organization has been able to have that much consistency at the toughest position to evaluate and develop in all of the NFL. So they got their own unique formula there. And then now they have another formula on defense that when a Hall of Fame caliber player is somewhat available and close to their prime, you know what? Let's go all in and go get them. They did it with Reggie White. They did it with Charles Woodson. I think they tried it with like Jay Peppers back in the day, but he was a little too old. You know what I mean? The Packers are tried and true, man. They have a formula and it just works. It works for them. So that's kind of what it sets them apart and why the dichotomy between them and the Cowboys is so stark.
Yeah, they play it about a month. They play it about a month.
Exactly a month.
Exactly a month. The thing that was interesting to me is that I never thought Jerry would ever trade somebody that was his best player, but he did it the first year with Herschel. And they had this Netflix series, and all of a sudden, I think it got him all juiced up. He goes, "Oh, let's do that again with Micah Parsons."
Not quite.
I never thought Green Bay would put that kind of money into a player in this current NFL. But they obviously felt like it was worth it and going for it right now.
That kind of a player is worth it. I mean, so he is. So, Rod, when you watch this Texas Ohio State game tomorrow, as a former player, do you almost feel like you're in it still? Like you're once the game starts, you'll get that like the butterflies and the nervousness, through the guys, like, oh my gosh, I know what they're feeling right now.
I do live vicariously through these guys.
Yeah.
I never had these kind of big games, man. We never had a big non-conference against a blue blood opponent like this. I mean, the biggest game we had each year was Texas versus Oklahoma. And we didn't have a playoff. Right, so we better hope to get to the Big 12 title and hope to get to a BCS game. And if you guys know how it worked back then, you lose too late in the season. We lost to Tech in 2002. Boom, missed our BCS game.
Yep.
Big 12 title to Colorado in 2001, missed out on our national championship appearance, right? These days, though, there's room for error. There's margin for error, right? You mess up one game, hey, that's all right. You still can make the playoff and make a playoff run. I would have loved to have a playoff. So I'm just jealous of these guys, man, not only the NIL and the revenue sharing, but the fact that they get a playoff. Like we won 11 games 2 years in a row at Texas when I was there. man, we could have did some damage in a playoff, man. We could have made a playoff run, gotten hot at the right time with the right matchups. And I love the fact that CDC and the Texas administration, they keep scheduling these big time non-conference blue blood powerhouse matchups against Bama, against, obviously Michigan, now against Ohio State. I think that's good, especially in a playoff era. It's okay if you lose one. And I don't plan on losing it, but I do think it gets you ready. Kind of like we see Texas high school football do this all the time, right?
They're doing it now more than the last 15 or 20 years. You have like Geyer's playing Alito tonight. North Shore's playing whoever. You're getting those games. Yeah, absolutely.
You got experience, man. That's basically a playoff game at the beginning of the year. And if it's not going to hurt you in district and then get into the playoffs, why not get that experience against a big-time opponent? I love it. I think it's great. So all around, I'm just jealous of these guys, man. I wish I got a chance to play in some of these big-time games on a big stage with the world watching.
Yeah, Texas has done that for a long time. They're not afraid to put one of those alphas on the other side of a schedule. And I like that they do that. Rod, have a great weekend. Good luck with the coverage and analysis or whatever else throughout the day tomorrow after that game in Columbus, Ohio. Have a great weekend.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Great to see that smile. Rod Babers with us on 365 Sports. Good job, Garrett, of weaving in and out. Thought you got distracted a little bit after Mike Scarborough was on, and there you go. You got distracted.
See,
I mentioned LSU Tiger bait, Mike Scarborough, and so there we are with that. Josh Neighbors, how long is that, Paul?
About 20 minutes.
All right, so we have a little bit of time. By the way, did you know there's a pick'em contest?
There's not going to be for much longer. You keep talking about this pick'em contest.
I entered. Paul, can you tell how many people have entered?
Let me see right now.
I went in there. There were 3 names: Paul, Justin, and Scotty B. Now, I'm in it. At least I had an email that said I was in it. So we'll see what we have.
Quite a few, actually.
All right, good.
There's 15, 20 or so.
All right, let's get that to about 100 before tomorrow. Again, the winner gets a $100 gift card courtesy of Kim Coulter from Visa.
And if you're not in the chat, how do you go about it? Because I don't have a link.
If you're on Twitter, if you're on Twitter, I guess what I'm going to have to do is I'll put that on my Twitter feed. Yeah, we got a late start because I thought I was going to be able to get someone who's done this before, but we had to take to Audible. So Paul's going to put it on Twitter as well. This is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. I got an email today from Ted Teague with some copy points, the script for what they have going on for the rest of the month upcoming after Labor Day weekend in September. 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo. 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo X, $35,326. Adaptive cruise control, Apple Play, CarPlay, Android Auto, automatic climate control, backup camera, blind spot monitor, forward collision warning, and also power sunroof, park assist, and keyless entry. And then you have the 2025 Dodge Hornet GT all-wheel drive, $29,375, all-wheel drive, adaptive cruise control, forward collision warning, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, blind spot monitor, backup camera, park assist, push start, and Wi-Fi hotspot. All those things that are part of the bells and whistles you expect, and you expect them when it comes to these great SUVs. Labor Day sales fiasco is what they're calling it, going on right now to help close out the month of August. Labor Day Monday, 2 exceptional deals. I just gave them to you. For more information, drop by the dealership at Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
At Sturdy Steel, we build more than grandstands and press boxes. We build the spaces where communities come together. Based in Texas and serving communities nationwide, we're proud of our reputation for dependable, high-quality work and strong client relationships that stand the test of time. From concept to installation, our team of skilled drafters, welders, and installers takes pride in delivering seating solutions designed to last. With a focus on dependability, transparency, and service, we are here to make the unique needs of architects, contractors, schools, and venues across the country. We ensure every project is seamless, sturdy, and ready for generations of fans to enjoy. That's Sturdy Steel.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Penny Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Penny Clinic Waco and reach out to the Penny Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pennycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
65 Sports, our good buddy Josh Neighbors College Countdown podcast. And Josh, we had a couple of really good games last night. Look, Cincinnati, I thought, availed itself very well in spite of the fact they couldn't throw the ball most of the night. But Nebraska gets the big win. I know that Nebraska didn't look all that crazy impressive, but they certainly looked better, and they didn't blow a game when they had a less than touchdown lead, and they won it. So that's actually a bigger step forward than I think most people would realize, given the most recent history of the Cornhuskers.
Yeah, did you guys enjoy Dylan Raiola doing his best Patrick Mahomes impression with just horrific turnovers on the run?
Yeah.
He is doing a full-on, Mahomes. Besides the look, the way he's playing, too, is funny. And honestly, pretty Chiefsy win, right? Defense seals it for you late, other team kind of on the move. So, it's a good win, man. I think Cincinnati is up for the fight. I thought Nebraska was a better team much of the way, but I don't know how good Nebraska is going to be. I think a lot of games for them are going to have to look somewhat like that, because I don't know how much offensive skill and talent they have. Defense looks pretty good, though. And look, we all like Matt Rule. Y'all are more familiar with him than I am. But, we all know he's a good coach. It's just a matter of kind of how good can he be? How good can the team be?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of alarm bells for me with Cincinnati. Nebraska defense is really, really good. Sorsby ran the ball well. They could not get anything going in the passing game last night at all. But I'm encouraged by what I saw a little bit from the Bearcats.
Yeah, it's a slow build. They need to get a really good quarterback. Mm-hmm. They got to find a guy. And I know it's an easier said than done, but they've tried it. Well, I wouldn't say Emory Jones was trying too much, because I think we all knew he was bad. But
Sorsby, they've liked, for a while, and I think he can be good, but man, they've got to get a difference maker at that position and then find somebody that, maybe just take a chance on a guy, who might have a small deficiency, like if there's too short or maybe too big, whatever it is, but like they've got to find a quarterback to kind of make this entire thing go, because it feels like, and this is natural, like that program's stuck in neutral ever since they joined the Big 12. And what made Luke Fickell's team was so good is their talent development was out of this world good. They were really good at finding those kids that the schools in that part of the country had let get by, and they did a really good job of developing them. I'm not saying that they're far away from that now, but I feel like the caliber of talent development isn't quite where it was before.
And look, Luke Fickell had a great situation there. He pitched a shutout last night, but again, their offense was less than stellar at Wisconsin. Yeah, it's just they're kind of caught in the middle. I'm gonna throw a theory out there on Dylan Raiola. I think that once he stops trying to be Patrick Mahomes and becomes Dylan Raiola, then he'll take a gigantic step forward.
You're right. I mean, like this, because you wouldn't, there are these guys that you would never show tape on to young quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And I guess now it's changed a bit, but Aaron Rodgers, you would never show because he's got unique ability with like the way he throws, just because he's able to generate so much zip on the ball, and his feet are never really set. And he's all about creating those windows. Mahomes is a bit different because he kind of uses his length to create those windows. You know what I mean? And he also, because he has that long pitcher's arm. So the arm slot's more of a pitcher's deal, where the Rodgers throws, those arm slots are kind of more of almost a, I don't know how to describe it a bit differently, but the Mahomes stuff feels a bit more like a pitcher. But you can't teach a guy how to play like that. Like Josh Allen, you can't teach a guy how to play like Josh Allen. And the thing is that we've got these aliens in the league now. And, I think Stroud's a bit more of a classical pocket passer, but he's got such a good arm. Herbert, I would say, too, it's one of those guys that he can move around the pocket some, but like you want him to set his feet and launch. There's the class of a guy where it's Lamar, Mahomes, Allen, I'd say prime Rodgers. Like you can't teach those guys. You can't teach that at all how those guys play, because they are so physically gifted and they've got such a great knowledge of how to use their physical gifts at that position. And that's not always something that, everybody has. And there's only 4 guys who can do it the way, I just listed that those guys can't.
Yeah. It's just, you can't it's what I get, like why you want to emulate them. I mean, obviously you can, and they work together, but Michael Bublé can't teach you how to sing like him. You either can or you can't, right? Like I can't
totally.
Yeah, I can't I can do this or I can't. But the best, he can probably teach you though how to sing better. So
yeah,
just be
better. It's a great point. I have a buddy who's a singer, and this happened recently where he was playing guitar, and he came on my radio show and played, and my boss goes, everybody can play guitar because I heard him sing, and that's why I knew he was good. And so all these people want to play with him now, and all these people want to be around him because they sound elevated around him. But it's because of his voice. I mean, you can teach somebody to play guitar now. Now, I'm not a musician, but shredding, like Prince, I'm not sure you can do that. But, that's one of those things you can learn how to play guitar. Singing, you're totally right. You can't teach how to do that. You can't teach what Lamar Jackson has. You know what I mean? Like Bobby Petrino can't coach that back into Taylor Green. He's got a different kind of speed. But what Lamar does, you can't teach anybody how to play that way. And so I think you're totally right with the singing analogy.
Yeah. I mean, again, you can teach me to be better, but I can't teach you to be me, and that's, I think the big thing that will set him apart once he figures that out. Now Oklahoma State lost Haas Haney for at least 5 weeks last night after he got injured. Now they won the game against UT Martin 27-7. But I mean, they didn't exactly set the world on fire. How concerned should people in Stillwater be for when they play Oregon, which is next?
Really concerned. And I've been concerned now for a little while because that roster last year was bad. And I just don't know. Like some of these personnel decisions that they've been making just haven't made a whole lot of sense to me. And it's like even going back to the Spencer Sanders thing, Paul, that was so strange that they refused. Like they were rolling with Alan Bowman. They had the 3-man rotation at one point where they were going with the Gundy, the young Gundy, and they also had Bowman, and then also I forget who the third person they had was in that rotation. But they had 3 guys out there playing quarterback, and it's like, what are you doing? And they rolled with Bowman last year. It's like, I know he won 10 games previous year, but we know he's not good. And that personnel stuff is kind of extended, I think, to other places. And, I think the big key for them is they want to run the ball. Like, that's just been their, we always thought about Mike Gundy before as the coach who wanted to air it out, throw it around, chuck it around the yard. That's gone now. This team has been better as of late when they've had guys like a Chuba Hubbard, like a Jalen Warren, right? And they've been running, between the tackles best they can and having guys manage the game. That's been the better version of them. So I don't know if they've got the ability to do that this year. And also, I think they're starting to lose. They don't have receivers like they used to.
No.
Like they were able to pluck some guys who were just absolute monsters for a long period of time. Even James Washington,
I'll throw this out there because he's been on the team until this year, but I don't think people appreciate how good Brennan Presley was for them. Even last year when they were terrible, he was amazing. Like in the Baylor game that they barely lost, Brennan Presley owned Baylor. And nobody else did. But Ollie Gordon didn't have a good day that day. The offensive line, nobody had a good day. But Brennan Presley did. And they don't have those guys right now. They just don't. And they made some plays last night. Zane Flores is going to have to be the quarterback for a while now. And that's obviously not what they wanted because he didn't win the job coming out of camp.
Right.
But they are where they are. They play Oregon next week. So, yeah, I said talking about on the top 5 yesterday about Gundy, look, it feels like now we're breaking up. No, we're getting back together. We were separated, but we're not going to get divorced. Now we're back together. We're going to make it work. We really see each other's side, but all of us really ultimately know that this is headed for a final divorce eventually.
Yeah, this is like the pitcher's got the old pitcher. You're like, that is not velocity anymore, and you're like, oh, he had a good month of May, but it's like once it's June and it warms up, you're like, there's he makes it 2/3 of an inning, gives up 6 runs, 4 long balls. You're like, oh no, oh god, and it's been heading that way for a little while though, because before they had that 10-win season, they were not very good. Like they had a year where it's just like they kind of screwed up a lot of their personnel choices, and I feel like that's been a theme for them for a little while now. Paul, is just the personnel choices. Like some of the guys they have, they've had to hide behind these awesome running backs and this really average quarterback play for a few years now, and on defense, they've developed guys pretty well, but that's kind of coming to a little bit of an end, where it just feels like they've got the number of, couple difference makers. Like they played well on defense last night, but I don't know if they're going to be able to sustain defense. They kind of want to play keep away and force turnovers. I don't know if they've got the personnel to do that this year.
Yeah, I don't either. All right, last game we'll talk about, Big 12 wise, UCF and Jack State last night. Jacksonville State is a team that you're terrified about letting them into your house because they have this ability, no matter whether they're an FCS school or now in the FBS, to come in and get a win. And that game was 3-3 until the fourth quarter last night. And UCF managed to pull it out with Taven Jackson, who played well once he came in after Cam Fancher got hurt. So they might have a new quarterback anyway, because Fancher, we don't know when he's going to be out. But I think this was about as good as people could expect for Scott Frost's return, and they got a win. They had, the backup quarterback looked good, and they were in a race right up until the end. So I guess we'll see. But I think this was about as good as they could have hoped for week one, given that Jacksonville State is not a slouch.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't catch a ton of this game, but I the sense I got from what I saw was that they missed some of that diabolical Gus Malzahn run stuff. Just some of that inside zone. They were able to just cook some things up, get some guys going in different directions, but still kind of hit those gaps. They missed a little bit of that, and I think that's to be expected. Like their longest run last night was 25. This is a team that just that they're able to create big holes, and they've got guys that can explode through those, at least previously under Gus. I don't know if that's going to be the case this year, but I'll say this in general, like the Big 12, for a conference known for scoring, not a great night offensively for the Big 12 conference. Not a super impressive offensive output evening considering the competition they were playing. But yeah, I mean, obviously Jacksonville State, like Rich Rod's gone, but they still have some of that DNA, and it's a program in a good location, and they're very good identifying talent. So take the win, move on, get yourself ready, for week number 2. But Scott Frost is back, and that's fine. Get North Carolina A&T next week, and then you got North Carolina proper after that. So, just kind of watch tape on Monday night, see if there's stuff you can exploit, and with UNC and drill that this week against NC A&T.
Okay, we're going to go rapid fire through the big games. All right, to wrap this up, Josh. So, okay, let's start kind of backwards. We're going to start Notre Dame and Miami. Who you got?
Notre Dame. I don't know why Miami's good. I don't think they're good. Carson Beck is a clear drop from Cam Ward. Like, it's not close. And I don't know if Miami's defense is going to be that much better.
No. LSU Clemson. Who you got?
Clemson. I don't like LSU trying to prove to me they got a good offensive line and can run the ball against that front on the road. And in that first game, I think it's a tough spot for them.
Bama FSU. There's only one answer to this question.
Look, here's the thing. Like, Ryan Williams is tough to cover, but I don't know if Ty Simpson's any good. So, I mean, I would take FSU to cover in this game. I think Alabama does win.
I agree with you. I think 14.5 is a really big number on the road in Tallahassee to cover. I think that FSU will avail themselves as well as they can, but they don't have the minerals right now to be able to do it. Finally, Texas, Ohio State.
I guess Texas. I mean, I think that the under is what I would tell you that if I had anything I felt good about the under. I just I don't know if these two offenses are going to be ready to cook. I do know these defenses will be, and these two teams have built really well in the interior. Especially Texas. They've been so good on the interior defensive line. So I'm going to go Texas. I trust Sark. I think that Ohio State's replacing so much of their offense. I know Texas is replacing a lot too, but what they've built on the interiors has been able to last a bit more. So I'm going to go. And also, I think Arch Manning plays well enough, just because he's got. I mean, I would run him like they ran Sam Ehlinger back in the day.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I would do tomorrow. And I think he's got the ability to take over a game like that. Long term, not the best thing to do with a guy like that, but I do think he's got the ability to not take over a game with his legs, but manage a game with his legs.
Josh Neighbors, College Countdown Podcast. Josh, enjoy the football weekend, brother.
Same. Longest week of my professional life this week, so I'm just ready to decompress, Bob.
Well,
so you enjoy it also.
All right. Well, I hope you can just sit back with a beer tomorrow and
several
beers and just pour them down your gullet and watch games.
100%. You too, man. Enjoy it.
All right. Talk to you soon. That is Josh Neighbors, College Countdown. Next up, it's the top 5.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Hello, my name is Paul Catalina, and I have a daily Top 5 list. Thank you for watching it. It is brought to you by flagandanthem.com. I've been told that maybe I get a little too loose with things to start off, so I thought I would do it robotically before telling you, welcome to the Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. Top 5 big buyout coaches on watch as we head into the weekend. Number 5, Mike Norvell. Look, he signed a massive deal a season ago. He's not going anywhere anytime soon unless another 2-10 season is in the offing, which I actually don't think is likely. But massive buyout, and if they don't make a jump back to relevance this year, he's going to feel some heat. Number 4, Brian Kelly. Again, not in any imminent danger, and they'll probably have a good enough season to keep him afloat. But he was not hired to be just good enough at LSU. The standard there is SEC and national titles. He has done neither of those things yet, nor has he won an opener, which, as it stands right now, that streak is likely to continue as they are not the favorites as they travel to the other Death Valley in Clemson, South Carolina. Number 3, Luke Fickell. He won last night, 17-0 over Miami of Ohio. Good defense, shut down former Baylor quarterback DeQuan Finn, as a matter of fact. But they have got to get better in a hurry. They have been kind of caught in the quarterback desert, and one of their quarterbacks, Billy Edwards Jr., the transfer from Maryland, was injured last night, so we'll have to see how that goes long term for the Badgers. But Luke Fickell, certainly on watch at Wisconsin right now. Number 2, Brent Venables. This one might be more of a hot seat situation, but I think John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle take the heat completely off of Brent Venables. I think that Oklahoma's in for a really good season this year with a solid defense and John Mateer on offense, but he also has a huge buyout, and it bears watching, because if John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle can't be the saviors of the Sooners, then somebody else is going to be the head coach. And number 1, Kirk Ferentz. When is it time? Does he get to retire? Does he get bought out? What happens? Now, I do think Iowa might be in for a boost of a season this year, but if getting Mark Gronowski in the portal does not hit the buttons like it needs to for Iowa, they might tell Coach Ferentz it's time to retire. We'll see. He's changed a lot over the last couple of years. He's been actually a little bit more flexible than you would think. So we'll see what happens with the Hawkeyes, but I do think retirement watch is very much year to year for Kirk Ferentz right now, kind of like Kyle Whittingham in Utah. That's going to do it for the top 5. We've got this week's final polls, right?
No polls.
No polls. That's right. Andrew is off producing something else. So, no polls. Leave that in. Let's have a good time.
Oh my God! You are happy you're done with high school football. At least you thought you were.
I'm Al Pacino. Like just when I thought I'm out.
All right,
pull me back in.
So we have covered pretty much everything, but there are other games this weekend that we have not really brought up when it comes to the Big 12. Correct, Craig?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've got a little injury report, first of all, here for you for the Baylor game coming up in a little over an hour that I will get to. But, yeah, no polls today. Andrew, busy with another project. We'll get back to that on Monday. But Baylor sending this out just within the last 15 minutes. Defensive back Carl Williams is officially out. So you had concerns about the secondary with or without him, but now he is officially out. You already knew about a couple of guys they listed here, but doubtful. They have offensive linebacker Corey Kelly listed as a game-time decision, but probable running back Michael Turner, who is along with
I thought that way.
Carl Williams, kind of a question mark. Michael Turner is listed as probable, although with the star next to him as a game-time decision, and that's important because of Pendergrass's injury. They need some young running backs like Michael Turner to help carry the load. So Devontae Tazzino also listed as medical. So really the thing to take away is there's a couple game time decisions like Michael Turner and Devontae Tazzino that could be important, but Carl Williams is out officially.
That was part of the discussion earlier this week. But now
well, it was,
and he's probably their best defensive back unless it's oh my God, I just went blank.
Caden Jenkins.
Yeah.
I mean, there was thoughts that he would probably be, but it wasn't official, and now we've got the game report. So as far as some of the other games, we've hit on a lot of the big ones from around the rest of the country, and there was some things that have slipped through, like Wisconsin played last night. We didn't talk about that. There's various other games we could talk about on Monday, but just ripping through the Big 12, since that's our base as much as anything. We saw, obviously, 4 results last night, and the biggest game of them all, you didn't win. So the whole narrative about the narrative, you've got more cracks at that this weekend to gain some national recognition. Cincinnati came so close to that, but you did see Houston, UCF, and Oklahoma State all win their respective games. So tonight, 3 more games. Kansas should crush Wagner. So the Jayhawks will be 2-0 over on ESPN+. And then you've got 2 of those national narrative games. Baylor-Auburn, and that's a toss-up. Baylor now 1.5-point favorites, though, so that has swung in the last 24 hours. And then Colorado, 3.5-point underdogs at home against Georgia Tech. How are y'all feeling about Colorado, Georgia Tech?
I think Georgia Tech is a better team.
I think they're just probably a little bit ahead of them, but I think this is going to be a really good game. I think they're probably more evenly matched than a lot of people would say.
So those 2 are going to be national narrative games. You hope the Big 12 can, if you're doing that whole routine, then you hope that they can win at least one, if not both of those, especially in light of that Cincinnati loss. Then Saturday, let's just roll through here because I want to touch all bases. The point here, West Virginia, Rich Rod's return should crush Robert Morris. They're nearly 40-point favorites. Yeah. Iowa State, couple plus touchdown favorites over South Dakota. Kansas State should roll North Dakota. 23rd ranked, Texas Tech. And I mentioned Iowa State 22, K-State 17, but 23rd ranked Texas Tech. I think they have the biggest point spread of the entire weekend. It's nearly 60 points, which is absurd. So that's going to be over quickly. BYU, similar. Portland State, you feel like they'll take care of that one. Arizona State at home facing Northern Arizona. Feel good about that one. Arizona hosting Hawaii. I mean, I don't know about Hawaii, but I don't really know much about Arizona, so that one could maybe get squirrely. I don't know. But that
Hawaii won their opening game, right?
Yeah, they did. So I don't know.
Under their belt.
That one might be one where you kind of side-eyed a little bit and go, well, if there is one that wouldn't be super obvious, that might be the one right there. And then UCLA hosting the Utah Utes in a late night, Saturday night's Big 12/Big 10 after dark. That's weird to say. Big 10/Big 12 after dark. Utah on the road, nearly 7-point favorites, 6.5-point favorites officially. So I think that's a narrative game that you need as well. And then TCU we'll talk about on Monday as they will be the big main event with North Carolina. But there's just a simple rundown. Everybody in those Saturday games, with the exception of, I'd say, Utah, UCLA, should all win handily. And we'll see if Arizona makes things interesting with Hawaii. But, tonight will be a big night where Kansas will crush Wagner. But beyond that, those 2 games featuring Baylor and Colorado. Very curious to see the results from that.
That's a couple of good ones against the Power 4 opponents, as we mentioned. And you get one or two or five, and let's see what happens. You move through the weekend. Looking forward to seeing those bigger games nationally, although the ones you mentioned are still national games, and see what happens there. So, again, we do have the Pick'em contest. We'll have all of the games up early next week, but the winner gets a $100 gift card. Also, Stephen Vaughn, our good friend who lives in Richmond, Virginia, drove in from Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport earlier this afternoon. He's in town for the game. He's a great Baylor fan from Richmond, Virginia, so we do appreciate him checking in. So good to see him there. All right, Garrett Ross, LSU.
Not feeling it, man. I'm going Clemson.
I'm just kind of asking you, about 24 hours away from kickoff, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Paxton is locked in. Hook 'em, baby. Texas. I can't believe I just said that. Good luck to your Horns and, of course, Therese and her Ohio State Buckeyes. All right. Thank you very much. Zach Burke also here putting together 365 Sports tonight, 10:30 on the CW. Craig and Paul and Garrett and I are about to get ourselves over to McLean Stadium for that game tonight between Auburn and Baylor.
It's exactly 1 mile away.
It might be. I don't know if we realize what's going to happen. It's almost like BYU times 2 as far as the crowd. It all just depends on those guys who run the traffic.
So thank you to everybody for being here with us, and please hit that like and subscribe button as we head into the weekend. We would appreciate that as we get everything rolling here with the long-awaited official full debut and return of college football.
JL, War Eagle, SEC. Okay, JL, that's a perfect way to end it because you're excited. We're excited to go see what happens. We'll see you Monday. It's a holiday, but not for us. Monday, 365 Sports. Have a great weekend.